All right, welcome back to KitaCast, episode 7.
Is it 7 already?
Again, I know I said the last time, but I don't know how we're still alive.
I just do the thumbnails for them, so I just try to keep track of the number we're on. So
no, it's really a bad sign if we're losing track of 7. But let's not worry about that too much. Speaking into your ear holes ever so softly is Nedu, also known as Albel. To my right, we've got a guest.
A special guest.
How special am I?
About as special as you want to be, man.
Special SHUL?
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, just for a little bit.
I'm Jason Cook, also known as Lord Main.
And then to my left, we got...
Dan, also known as Dandroid.
Yes.
I'm always here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we record here. I have to be here.
It would be a little weird if I was in your place and just recording on my own. You'd kind of wake up in the middle of the night
Especially
going
if it was at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. You're in the middle of the night, Jan, what the fuck are you doing here? I was bored.
Only one, shame on you.
Only 12 times.
Then I may need to figure this out.
You're not here for the hunting,
Oh, God. We're already off to a very great start.
All right, Ninja, what do you got for us this week?
Well, this week, actually, in honor of Jason being here, I was hoping to talk a little bit about our favorite TV shows, because, I don't know, Jason's kind of a
The word
whiz.
you're looking for is media whore.
Media whore. I was going to say savant, but media whore.
Aficionado.
Wow, yeah. Ours were so much more flattering.
Just cut right to the chase. Call it like it is.
Fancy titles.
Media whore.
Media whore.
No, I decided to invite Jason on just because he does the whole TV thing. He just loves shows, and he just never stops watching them, no matter how bad they are.
Hey! It's fair.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
He's I guess a TV show completionist, as it were.
I don't know about that. Other than Lost, there are a few I've given up on.
Yeah, you can get to that one a bit later.
Oh, really?
Or not.
or just never speak of it again. Awesome.
In a perfect world.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I guess we'll just kind of jump right to it. The first thing I was wondering about is, just as far as TV shows go, what's kind of your past with watching TV? Which sounds like a weird question, but a lot of people kind of get into it in different ways, especially when you become really passionate about TV.
All right. Well, I think Jason will start this, because normally I'm the oldest on the podcast, and now Jason is the oldest on the podcast. So
I'm the oldest on this floor.
Did you own a black and white TV?
Actually, no, we didn't. We did have one of those TVs with the big wooden enclosures.
It sat on the floor.
That were much
so
bigger
big
than they needed to be.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a 13-inch screen, but the thing was 5 feet long.
I got a tan just from sitting near
Yeah.
this outline of me on
The
the
old
wall.
radiation king.
Oh, good.
Well, going back as a kid, it was off the air, but like most kids my age, I'm in my 40s now, and it's like Star Trek on a Saturday afternoon after all the Saturday morning cartoons were done. CBC for an hour would be crappy 70s William Shatner Star Trek.
Did they have T.J. Hooker on after that too?
Actually, I'm pretty sure that was still on the air at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
That was towards supper time, and I was not into that kind of thing then, or now, because it's William Shatner. Star Trek as a kid, it's like space swashbuckling. It's the best thing ever when you're I don't even know how old I was at the time, but that was before I knew how bad an actor William Shatner was. He definitely made the role his own, and it was, I don't think show...
He's famous for a reason, so...
I don't think it would have gone as far as it did without him, because, maybe he wasn't the best actor in the world, but he was perfect for that role, and he carried the show, and it
he really made it his own and presented it. Yeah, that way.
He was a driving force. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. So, but today, obviously, looking back, my tastes in television have evolved.
Yeah, but you have more to pick from now, too.
Yes.
It was back then, it was what else could you watch instead of Star Trek on a Saturday afternoon?
Back when there was whatever is the first 12 channels.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if it was a free Super Channel weekend, that's how old it was.
Yeah. Exciting.
That's
you see that, or you watch the news or fishing.
Oh, yes. But as a kid, there used to be a show early on a Sunday morning called Switchback. Laurie Mustard, who I think is still a media figure in some capacity, he used to put on things like the 60s Batman and you guys remember the cinematic abortion with Will Smith and Kevin Kline, The Wild Wild West?
Yes.
The TV show that was based on the Wild Wild West, they would show it like on Switchback in the morning on Sundays, like every other week.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that show existed until years after I'd seen Wild Wild
Yeah,
West.
no
I was
kidding.
just like, oh, okay, so this is what it came from. It's nothing the same.
It was steampunk James Bond set just after the Civil War, so it was
But
like
no spiders.
Yeah, but no spiders.
No giant walking spiders. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, spoilers.
I think they're fine. There will not be a warning for that one.
If we're spoiling the Wild Wild West movie for you, we are doing you a favor.
Yes,
Yeah,
we really are.
Don't
You're
watch
welcome.
that. Hey, remember when Will Smith made all the theme songs for his movies?
Wow.
Oh, the 90s were an interesting time.
So yeah, as a kid, like your selections were limited. I mean, you'd watch that kind of thing. I wasn't interested in any kind of drama back then.
So what it sounds like then, like, did you watch any cartoons, or did you like the live action stuff?
Well, pretty much Star Trek and that kind of thing was the only live action I'd ever watched. But cartoons as a kid, that's your bread and butter, like Transformers, the original.
But I mean, like, because like you're a bit older than I am, so kind of back then, it's like it was when you were. You know, that age, Transformers weren't out yet exactly. It was
Are you
like...
kidding? Sure they were.
Well, the Transformers were, 1984, I think? They started? 84,
1986 was the movie. They were around for a few years before that.
Oh,
okay, because
really?
I was just thinking of you, like, watching cartoons in the 70s, so it would have been Hanna-Barbera.
Watching cartoons in the 70s. Yes, I was watching cartoons in the 70s when I was 5.
Okay, well...
But I mean, it's
You have
not like I'm
memories
going to
of that,
Studio
though.
60 or Studio 54 or anything.
Well, no,
whatever
but
it
I
was.
mean, because
Yeah.
I had memories of being, 4 and 5 years old watching Transformers when it was brand new. So
Yes.
with you being a bit older, it's like, do you remember watching,
Oh,
Scooby-Doo and Jetsons and all those ones?
Bugs Bunny, Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly.
The old Disney specials and the...
all that
Disney,
kind of stuff.
back when Disney was a thing and not a
Well,
faceless
yeah.
conglomerate.
Yeah.
I actually really like those old Disney cartoons. Like, I actually watched a bunch of them, like, a few years back. I'm like, damn, these are really
The Cat from
pretty
Outer
good.
Space,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Escape
yeah.
from Witch Mountain,
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Flight
Yeah.
of the Navigator.
Oh, yes, I remember that one.
Absolutely.
I was-
Yeah, because I was just thinking with the whole live action thing and stuff like that, because obviously I remember watching cartoons as a kid. I loved, Transformers and He-Man and G.I. Joe and like the really classic like 80s cheese like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I remember like when you go to someone's house and they were babysitting you or whatever, or the adults were busy, so they put on the TV and it'd be like, all these cartoons would be on and stuff. And am I supposed to be entertained right now because I'm watching Scooby-Doo? I did not like Hanna-Barbera. I'm just going to put that right out there.
Interesting.
The
Depends.
Jetsons, Flintstones, Scooby-Doo,
It was-
like all those ones, I couldn't stand those for some reason when I was a kid. But I loved live action when I was young because I loved the A-Team.
A-Team was awesome.
Dukes of Hazzard, Airwolf. Like
Wow.
I
Nice.
absolutely loved the
Knight
Knight Rider.
Rider.
Yeah, Knight Rider.
Yeah,
was another
Knight
one.
Rider was
I
super
absolutely
good.
loved live
Yeah.
action shows when I was a kid because they had that. It was like a mini action movie every
Yeah.
time. So
Sure.
I mean, it's 80s cheese to the fullest,
Yeah.
but they were really entertaining at that time.
I think Space 1999 was just going off the air when I first started remembering watching live action.
Oh, okay.
And that was like a discount Star Trek, basically. But it was kind of
Was
interesting.
that did I try to capitalize on Star Trek, or was that before it, or?
I actually, off the top of my head, I don't know, but it had a different aesthetic to it. It was, I think, I might be wrong, but I think it was the guy who was involved with doing the Thunderbirds.
Really?
Like all the design, like all the ships and
Oh,
whatnot.
okay.
It's like it was like
very, very 50s, like pulp, like sci-fi almost.
Not really, like all the ships, they look very realistic for what you might expect. Not like the Buck Rogers fins.
Oh
and
yes,
whatnot.
yeah.
Like they had their main workhorse ship was this looks like a transport called the Eagle, and it was just basically like a pod and
that big yellow thing?
no, it was white and it had like a diamond shaped head on it
Okay.
that had like black strips, whatever. It looked like a very realistic, what you might see like in an Arthur C. Clarke movie.
Okay.
Right.
So but I mean, after about the first season, it went completely off the rails, and they had like
As you do.
transforming women, and the whole story was about the moon breaking away from the Earth, and the moon was traveling through space, and occasionally it would run into things. So I mean, just
So wait,
going by-
were they following the moon on their spaceship? Or
No,
were
they were on a moon base.
Oh, okay.
It was like Moon Base Alpha, it was called. Space 1999. The moon broke out of orbit. It's like, catastrophe. So they're on this moon base, and they're flying through space.
Yeah.
And the conceit is, no one really realizes how big space is in the audience. Because otherwise, okay, so they're in space and they're flying, so 18 years from now when they might accidentally get near enough to a planet to see something interesting.
Right.
But it's like week after week. Oh, we're on a new planet. Oh, we're in a
Sweet. Perfect for episodic stuff.
Because they didn't need their science back then.
No.
No, Martin Landau and yeah, it was not the best. I think it only lasted like 1 or 2 years. But.
Sometimes shows like that are just super fascinating. Those ones that you're just like, this is not very good, but I kind of appreciate this weirdness of this. You know? Yeah.
So how about you? You're the youngest.
Oh, wow.
What was your deal when you were younger?
You know, it was
Your
weird.
introduction.
Yeah, like, you know, it was weird because I actually really, like, I think I enjoyed both, like, live action and cartoon stuff. It's weird because I remember having this strange disconnect as a kid when I realized that, like, it's one of those things that you know but you don't realize you know. And I had this moment where I realized that cartoons were voiced, like they were staged, like they weren't real. Right? I remember having that realization when I was very, very young.
Because young kids that go to like Disneyland or something like that, they see Mickey walking around and he's like 7 feet tall and clearly a human in a suit, but they're like, oh my god, you're that guy from the cartoon that I watch all the time.
Right?
Maybe it happened sooner for me watching the old reruns of the crappy 70s Spider-Man and watching the same 8 frames in the background go by.
See, that was like telling you Santa Claus isn't real way
exactly.
earlier.
Even as a kid, it's like, I'm seeing the same 8 frames.
Yeah.
Like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, there's something going on.
It's weird. I had that realization really early. Like, I mean, way earlier than my friends, which is really strange.
Do you remember what triggered it, or it was just cartoons?
I honestly think it was Spider-Man because I had an old, like, because I didn't have a lot of new channels, right? Like, I had all, like, a bunch of really shitty cable. Because my parents were just too cheap. They're like, fucking, why would I do this? TV's stupid. That was my parents.
So you had 6 channels.
Immigrants, right? So, like, I had, like, 6 channels. They were all reruns, all old shows. And I remember, I think it was Spider-Man, because I remember watching Spider-Man, because I had this moment, because I was watching with my older brother, and I'm like, what is he webbing onto? What is he attaching his web to? Because he was over the fucking skyline.
Oh yeah, and when he's at the docks and there's like no tall buildings in sight.
There's actually one I remember where he webbed and it was like a web hook that hooked into a cloud and I'm like, done.
We are done here, sir.
I'm like 8 years old. Nope.
Like, this is stupid.
You lost me. Man,
broken my radioactive.
Well, that was exactly it. Because I remember, and I was just like, what is he webbing onto? So my older brother and I started making up a bunch of reasons, like things that, like, oh, he's got a little flagship he's webbing onto. And I started realizing, like, all cartoons are kind of bullshit. Like, I still love them, but I'm like, fuck, these are all lies. None of this is real.
Yeah, and did you realize that G.I. Joe's never actually shot anyone?
I did. Like, again, like, all these realizations kind of flooded in as I kept watching cartoons. And my older brother, I mean, he and I have always been like this, where we just, like, completely dissect everything we watch, which is all sometimes good and bad. But, yeah, like, even then, we were, like, watching G.I. Joe, and again, like, all these lasers, like, nobody's actually getting hit. Like, what am I looking at?
It's the world's most dangerous terrorist organization that actually never killed anyone.
Oh, no, they are. Oh, man, if only we had terrorists like that these days. Anyway, besides the point. Like, so I started watching some live-action shows, and Star Trek was definitely one of them. Again, like, I think I can barely remember any of these shows at this point. Because, I don't know, maybe it's because I watched so many or just have a horrible memory, but I can barely remember them. But I know Star Trek was a big one. I know Twilight Zone was a big one as well, which scared the shit out of me.
Like the 80s remake? Which were still, some of them were pretty
No,
good.
like the 50s, black and white ones. Yeah,
excellent.
The classic ones.
Yeah, like I can barely remember them, except I think the one I remember the most is like there was like an alien in the town, and they were all like super paranoid as to who it could be, and like the town kind of went into like kind of mayhem and
There's all the paranoia.
Yeah, exactly. And I got so freaked out by that too.
Kind of like The Thing.
Yeah, yes, it's very much like The Thing. Like, and so like and I remember like just having all these weird stuff, and then again when Power Rangers started up, because that was a big one. So like this is like live action anime.
No, I'm with you, man.
This is like live action anime. But then again, like it was one of those things where I fell out of very quickly because I'm like, the people in the suits and the people that are not in the suits are two different people, and that really I couldn't reconcile these things.
That was where it lost you.
Well, again, I was a kid. I was the perfect
lot younger.
No, I was the perfect. No, my demographic was the exact demographic for that shit. Absolutely, that was aimed for idiots like myself.
I'm
like,
so glad
you were of the same age. You had a brother you could beat up. And stuff
yeah, exactly. But it was weird because again, that lost me way sooner than it did a lot of other people because like just these disconnect with TV. And, like, the ridiculousness, like, live action I found sometimes was a little bit easier, but then when I saw that show, I'm like, this is like live action anime. And then I was like, oh, this is like live action anime.
Make my nausea grow. I'm so glad that I was just old enough to miss that fad.
Super Sentai, Well, there was, like, Superhuman Samurai and Beetleborg and all that stuff based
well,
on
they all
Japanese,
tried to capitalize on the same
Yeah.
thing, but they were way more low budget. Some of them were fully Americanized, too.
Yes.
So they weren't, the martial arts weren't as good.
No.
The special effects were pretty much on par because they were bad anyways.
Yeah,
But,
the Japanese special effects were terrible.
yeah, because I mean, that's actually something I didn't that I learned like way later on after watching Power Rangers was that, and it made perfect sense after I found it out. But it was like I didn't realize that they cut in a Japanese show in with an American TV show.
Yeah.
Because like when you're younger, it's like, well, especially living in Canada, it was like, oh, well, when you see the buildings there and you see kind of the architecture and you see how the city lays out and everything like that, when I saw that, I was like, oh, I guess that's just what big cities in the States look like. So I just never gave it a second thought. And it was years later I found out, like, oh, well, those were actually all the Japanese actors and none of the storylines ever existed and, like, all this stuff like that, so...
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Right you are, Ken.
So, and then it was just weird because, like, there was this time, like, again, like, of course of course I've saw all those awesome 90s cartoons and stuff like that, but there was this time, like, I just didn't really watch TV regularly, pretty much from junior high school until about university, where I was just like, man, you know what, I'm so busy with school, I better just start watching some of these TV shows that I keep reading about on IGN. And then I saw Chuck, and it was over for me. Fell back into TV.
You had an experience with that one, right? Like, what did you think of that?
Chuck?
Yeah, like...
specifically that show?
I remember you and Dave, like, just, like, hailing it as an awesome, amazing show when it first started, and then I just never heard anything else about it.
I don't know about that. I enjoyed Chuck for what it was. It was not a super cerebral TV show.
Oh God, no.
But I mean, it was
supposed to be ridiculous.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, patently ridiculous. It's a guy who works basically at the rebranded version of Best Buy.
Yes.
They Buy More, I think it was.
Oh yeah, Buy More. It was not subtle. Not subtle.
No, and it didn't mean to be. Like
nothing
even
about
the
that show was subtle.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's basically his knowledge of IT tech support that allows them to go out and, solve mysteries and do their whole Scooby-Doo thing. And the conceit was him, he has this
Intersect, the giant super special computer.
Which somehow intelligence from, like, years ago is still relevant to that day.
The second you start thinking about that show, where you're like, this all falls apart. But
you're not supposed to think about it too close.
And that's, again, like, it was weird, because I enjoyed that show. I think this is, again, one of those reasons why I was able to get into it so much, because I love that show. Like, I had so much fun watching the show. Like, there's a lot of callbacks to those stupid 80s spy stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's just like, the show makes no fucking sense. And I'm just dissecting the shit out of the show. But like, man, do I love it, though. Like, and I think that was the moment where I was able to kind of realize that I can completely destroy, logically, something that I love and still enjoy it, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. There's certain shows you can appreciate on that level, and they're designed to be pulled apart and examined. And then there's those you just got to take a step back and just enjoy for being stupid.
Yes.
And Chuck was a good show for that. And even then, occasionally it was kind of uneven towards the end.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But it had a lot of good moments in it, and it was, had some genuine, humor to it. And I mean, plus, anything with Adam Baldwin in it, I will watch.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I love watching that guy on screen. He's pretty hilarious. So, yeah, Dan, I think you already talked about some stuff for sure, but did you want to add anything else? Or?
No,
Come on, where did you get started with television?
Oh, started with television?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my... probably one of my earliest memories would be watching Sesame Street and stuff like that.
Okay,
but I mean, like, who didn't watch that?
That's
I mean,
true.
there are adults that still watch it to this day.
Sesame Street was fucking weird as
after they brought it out of the park and back to the street again, which I'm very, very glad for, because that whole park thing was just a horrible
Streets
idea.
are dangerous. That's where drugs happen.
But yeah, like, it goes way back, because I mean, and then
Sesame Central Park.
But yeah, like, and then you had your, there was like Mr. Rogers, and being in Canada, you had Mr. Dress Up.
Friendly Giant.
Friendly Giant was a big one.
Yeah.
Under the Umbrella Tree, Lois and Brown, like all those ones.
Those
Those are really classic kids stuff like that. Like, I do remember watching those, but I mean, as being very young, like, obviously I was at the right age to watch those, because they were, they obviously, entertained me because I would sit in front of the TV for hours or whatever, just watching those things. But yeah, I think as far as remembering and beginning to love something on TV, it was definitely the 80s cartoons. I mean, to this day, I still own Transformers shirts and the video game shirts, and I have my toy collection that I have G.I. Joes and all this stuff. It's just that nostalgia, as it's been stated many times, is a very powerful thing because we are still buying a lot of the same stuff that was created in the 80s, and we don't want it changed, or for the most part not changed a lot, because I mean, you get the remakes and you get the HD remasters of stuff and everything like that. But a lot of people go out of their way to collect stuff in their original packaging, or trying to find those original G.I. Joe figures that don't have the, face rubbed off of them, or their arm isn't melted off or blown off by a firecracker or something like that. So.
I think it's happened to everybody.
I'm fine with remakes and going back and rebooting certain series as long as it's worthwhile. They have a good take on it. As long as they're not going in just to change stuff because they have to change something to be able to sell it again. Like Michael Bay. Because I went into the original Transformers movie thinking, worst case scenario, it's robots beating the crap out of each other. How bad could it possibly be?
It'll be entertaining for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then, I went in and I'm like, how bad could it possibly be? That's how bad.
That's how. Thank you, Michael Bay. You showed us how bad it could be.
Okay. Well, lesson learned, Michael Bay. And then 4 movies later,
and he's
and
still
working on a fifth.
And he's working on a fifth.
How are you still getting people to see this dreck?
See, that's the thing, though. It actually goes back to audiences either just wanting to go in and not think, and I get that. I get that, but he knows exactly what he's doing. Like Michael Bay, for all the bullshit with those series, he's a smart man.
No, he is a smart man. He's working the system. He's working it very, very well.
And he is spending just the right amount of money, and again, millions of dollars, but still always knowing this is exactly
he's
what
easily
to do.
making hundreds of millions back on every single one of those movies.
I don't think he's stupid. I just think he's a bad filmmaker.
Although,
and there's no disagreement here.
Yeah, gosh, although I did like Pain and Gain, but that's
which
Pain and Gain.
It was I don't know. It was some weird movie based on a bank heist or something like that. It had The Rock and
Mark Wahlberg and Anthony Mackie. Actually,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
That just made my list.
It's highly suggested, my friend. If you're missed stuff like The Rock.
So going back to it's just nostalgia is a very powerful thing, but the problem is a lot of people end up becoming nostalgic blind almost. They were just I loved them when I was a kid, so I'll like it now. It's like no, that's not true. You can't do that with everything.
For sure.
I went
you
back
have
fairly
to kind of
recently.
pick and choose.
I went back fairly recently and tried to watch G1 Transformers, and it's like some of this is really good, and some of it is
unwatchable.
horrible.
Yeah, because it was funny. I actually found a little thing on a website where it was just the 10 best and 10 worst Transformers episodes from G1, and the 10 best. I went and watched some clips from it. This is what I remember. It's awesome. There's action. They're shooting each other and flying around and doing awesome stuff and that.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the worst list and I was like, I don't remember any of these. But I feel like I have to watch them to see how bad they are because there's one that I didn't remember this, but I read an entire write-up on it where apparently the Decepticons start a nightclub to harvest energon from people or something like that. It was...
Harnessing their dancing?
It's not... It was to do...
Seriously?
They would, I guess, dance on the dance floor, and it would, create an energon or something like that. And it was just this is not just the stupidest Transformers or whatever. This is probably one of the stupidest episodes that has ever aired on anything.
I'm pretty sure that my frontal lobe shut down to protect me from
yes,
that.
there you go.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Wow, holy shit, that is...
Yeah, so just the taste of that.
Yeah.
That was obviously number one.
No, for sure.
But there were many other bad ones on there. But that just goes to show the kind of the night and day between the writing, which I'm sure is one of those things. Back in the day, they always swapped out writing staff, and they even swapped out some voice actors in the middle of the season because they just the guy left or they didn't want to pay him as much or something, and because they could do that all the time.
Yeah. When you plan out your season, you have back then seasons were 25, 30 shows.
Oh yeah,
right?
that was not like now where it's you're lucky to get 10 or 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And I mean, in Transformers, it's instantly at the end of every episode it resets to 0, so there's no continuity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put them in the order.
Status quo.
So they just go, okay, you get this, you get this, you get this. They pitch a bunch of ideas and they go, okay, go. You write this script, 22 minutes. and churn them out. And even if it sucks, it's got to fill somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So you got to push the toy
That's
line.
actually I read a bit about the '60s Batman, and apparently that's what happened with that show is that it became so popular so fast, and NBC, I think. I think it was NBC that ran that one.
To be fair,
they were just like, oh, we got a hot one here. We got to like just cram it out the door. So they were writing, I think, 70+ episodes a season or something like that. So and Adam West was just like, we can't do this. We're burnt out. Because you're getting us to like tour around and meet these people and do signings and stuff, and we've got to film like 20 episodes this week, and and that's why there was never really a good episode of that show, but some of them, like, for the time, they were okay, like, they were passable and stuff, whereas a lot of the other ones were like, you're just like staring at the TV for 20 minutes, you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, who is this guy? And that's why they had like villains that you had never heard of before, and you never saw them again, because they just got written into that script. And one of the ways they extended it was always by having the double episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they could stretch out the storyline over 2 episodes.
Make you tune in next week.
Yeah, and that's the thing,
that's
is it kept it coming back. But apparently it was just so hot at that time that they were just like, we gotta hit this right now, because it's making so much money and it's so popular. It was like the biggest show on TV for like the 2 years or 3 years that it ran.
We were really stupid back then.
Yeah, that's actually true, because one thing that people talk about a lot more is that you can't pull that kind of shit with TV viewers anymore. No. People have become a little bit more sophisticated.
Okay, all right. There's two sides to that argument, though. I'll let you finish your thought.
In some senses, people have either become in some senses, people have become a little bit more sophisticated in the sense that they ask for more of a TV show, whether it comes to continuity and a more serialized story, or just things that actually make some level of sense within the world that they built.
Right.
But at the same time, there's also the fact that audiences are also very much in tune with the internet, and knowing more about the TV show than you're actually just seeing on screen is a big thing. So people will get really involved with that stuff too.
Yeah.
So there's certain things you can't really pull on viewers, whether it's a good or a bad thing. But that's kind of the way it's become recently.
And then my other point to that was the other dark side of that is reality TV, because.
MTV in the mid-90s.
You can't see me as usual doing air quotes, but it's reality TV, as it's known, because everything is horrendously scripted.
Yes.
They get like 1 or 2 actors, and the rest are just people that want to make it big, and they just want to have their face on TV and maybe make like $10,000 and stay in a hotel for a week or something like that. And
even those people are often given like soft scripts.
And they get soft scripts, so the director will kind of chime. It's like, let's up it a little here. You'll get angry at that person or something, and they'll kind of poke the bear at that point. And that's the other side of it. It's just like, I like that people are judging their shows, story-based, actual like Hollywood shows, because a lot of the bad ones do get taken down because they last a season and nobody watched it because it was shitty or it just didn't quite catch on, and it goes away. But reality shows, kind of the same thing happens, I guess, where, a show could disappear in 6 episodes. Yeah. But there are reality shows that are still going, that started the reality show trend.
See, this is a personal pet peeve of mine. And like I said, going back to Ed TV and Matthew McConaughey, and they called that in the 90s, and everyone went, that'll never happen. And then everyone kind of stopped and went,
that's why movies like Idiocracy scare the shit out of me.
I mean, even though the shows are awful, and they go on for 6 episodes, already they've made their money back in
easily.
Advertising, and by far. When you imagine the production value that goes into that, even the biggest ones are way less expensive.
You hire a shitty actor, you grab people off the street that want a few coins in their pocket and stay at a hotel, like fancy hotel for the week. And you hire a camera crew, license out a location for a couple weeks for filming. Yeah. You spent a couple $1 million filming this thing, and you made back $60 to $100 million, like off advertising and games and products and all it does is encourage the worst instincts in humanity. To see a spectacle of people failing and doing stupid shit and being awful to each other. Yeah.
And obviously not to diss anybody, because the way I try to look
Kardashian?
at it.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
It sounded like you sneezed there. I don't know.
Something a little hard to swallow.
But like the thing is that I sometimes ask people because I don't want to insult people, because I know a lot of people like reality TV show, and some people actually watch it interestingly, which I will kind of get into in a second. But oftentimes I ask people like, oh, well, why do you like this show? Because I'm honestly curious. Like, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm like, I want to know.
Please explain to me how you can watch this.
That's pretty much what's happening there. And I get a couple answers. So I think the one I get the most is like, well, it's kind of just fun to watch awful people be dreadful to each other. Like, I watch other shows like Arrested Development for that. Like, please explain. They're like, no, well, you see, it's just like, these are real people, quote unquote. Whether they know that or not, I don't know. But they're like, these are real people who are just doing the stupidest shit on TV, and it's kind of funny to watch. And you're just like, man, I'm glad I'm not that stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? If I wanted to see awful people be horrible to each other, I would go to work.
Go outside.
Really, they're everywhere. I mean,
go to a mall for 10 minutes.
How is that entertaining to people?
Well, see, one thing that I found kind of interesting, and like again, this is not really something I myself find interesting, but I was talking to other friends that like watch Big Brother, and they're like, it's kind of interesting to watch how people play the game, because you can see the people who are definitely like being fed the scripts and that's that, and other people who are just having fun with it and fucking with other people and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I can understand that a little bit. Still not my thing, but
Yeah.
So
because as far like the farthest I'll take reality TV that I will watch and enjoy is one of my favorite shows on TV actually is Canada's Worst Driver.
Yeah, my older brother loves that too.
That's because I'm a really good driver myself, and I get pissed off at bad drivers, and I agree with everything that show teaches, because it's not out there to make people famous.
No.
It's not out there to give people prizes and money and new cars and stuff like that. It is out there to make roads safer, and they teach realistic, actual useful driving skills.
Yes.
And to these people who are, have already admitted to driving drunk and hitting people and hitting cars and doing all this damage, and like there's people in there that are like, oh yeah, like since I was 16 I've written off like 18 cars. It's like you should be dead like 10 times over already.
I would like to see these people not on Canada's Worst Driver, but in the Thunderdome.
Yes, exactly. Just something like that.
Just round up all the winners of all the various reality shows and put them in an arena and make them fight till there's one left, and then kill that person.
That's how you know it's real. Somebody fucking died.
Real reality.
I cannot wait until we have the Running Man.
The Running Man, yes.
With Richard Dawson hosting it. I watch the shit out of that show.
I feel like these are great ideas until it actually happens, though.
But yeah, so anyway, Canada's Worst Driver like that, because there's no prizes or anything like that. It's like you get to walk away knowing that you're not the worst at something. That's how you should fucking run a reality show. And then basically the only other reality shows I watch, and that's because I like kind of like psychiatry and stuff like that, is I really enjoy watching Intervention and Hoarders and stuff like that.
And my girlfriend.
Because I like seeing. I kind of like. I'm the opposite. I don't like to see people bicker and drama and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like to see the after part when see if they got help, if they got better. That's my favorite part of the show.
Actually, that does remind me, because one reality show that I really did kind of like was, granted, again, because it's British, I don't know how much of it was staged, but the British version of like Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh yes, okay.
That one was really interesting because, I mean, first of all, Gordon Ramsay was not like flying off the frickin' handle.
Well, no, because he got to be normal. He didn't have to be the hammed up American version that they made him out to be.
And
he's not a psycho. He's a very nice person.
Yeah. and what was cool about that was, again, like he'd go into a kitchen, he'd go to a restaurant and be like, huge range. Sometimes they were kind of just average, others were just awful. He'd go and be like, well, this is kind of what's going on. Let's work on this together. And oftentimes, like, things would improve. He'd leave and come back. And sometimes it was great coming back and he'd be like, you know what? You guys still got a lot of work, but you guys did awesome. Like, this is great. Other times he'd come back like, you guys are just back to what you were doing before. Like, what's going on? Like, I kind of really liked kind of watching that.
And see, that's the thing, is when it comes down to that type of show, it has... Like, I'll take a chance on that type of show if it isn't about giving big prizes and fame and all this crap at the end. It's about trying to improve someone. Like, though, I will give those ones a chance as long as it's something I find interesting, at least.
The closest to reality television I would have ever watched would be like a talk show.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just interesting to hear what people have to say. It's no different than watching a TED Talk at points.
Yeah, well, that's true. I will admit, there was one reality show that I found interesting back in the day, and that was The Mole. And
okay.
It was the contest, and it was like kind of like Survivor. You go to different places, and there was puzzles to solve. But there was one guy that was fucking with you, and the whole idea was by the end to figure out who it was to try to isolate the mole and try to minimize the impact. It was kind of like playing like the Resistance. You had to figure out who the guy was and put them where they can't do any damage.
Exactly.
But usually it was and it was like on for I don't know, like 3 years I think it was, and it was
Mm-hmm.
what's his face from CNN with the white hair.
hell's his name now?
Jesus Christ. We're gonna
Can't think of his name.
Super political guy.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, we're gonna be so embarrassed because we're gonna remember this later.
You have a phone right there if you feel like looking it up.
I'll look it up. But I mean, he's like, super white hair and yeah, I can't think of the name. So regardless, anyway, so that was the only reality show I ever watched because primarily, if I'm watching television, I can go outside for reality. I want to see some interesting stories and people's stories.
Creativity.
That's called the news.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't like to see people be awful to each other outside of, down the street.
Yes, no, absolutely. With that, we can actually kind of go into our next topic, and this one's kind of just shows that you consider hidden gems, like whether they're super popular or not, or whether they've had a resurgence. But what's something that you guys kind of saw or liked that you felt was kind of a hidden gem?
Oh, right, yeah.
Did it get canceled? Is it still going?
I was trying to think about this earlier, and you know what? As much as I hate to admit it, Fox had a lot of them.
They did,
because they make how they do the spray and pray basically. They create it's like, oh, it's the fall season, we've got 20 new shows, and then 2 of them stick.
No, absolutely.
And there's some really, really good shows in there from time to time. Firefly. But that's not a hidden gem, because everybody knows what Firefly is.
That's true. Except the Fox executives.
What's a Firefly?
Well, they were too busy bathing in their money tubs. But as far as that goes, Fox had 2 other that I really enjoyed, but again, they were only on for a season. They weren't amazing shows, but I just really enjoyed them because, I don't know, they were just, one was really funny, and the other one just reminded me of kind of the old live-action 80s type action shows and stuff like that. So the first one I remembered was, Andy Richter, Conan O'Brien's sidekick. I don't know if anyone has heard of this because, it was on for one season, but they had a show called Andy Richter Controls the Universe.
Yep, I saw that.
And it was just, when I think about it now, it almost reminds me of Family Guy because they had, it wasn't ridiculous stories, so I guess it was more like early Family Guy. It was very kind of just moderate stories, but whenever Andy was thinking something to himself or had this kind of flashback in his head, he would act it out, but then the scene would just carry on as if it didn't happen. Yeah. And that reminded me of Family Guy, like especially earlier on when they just had remember this time that this happened, and cuts away or whatever.
It's kind of the same sort of design as Scrubs with the whole
very Scrubs-like. But again, that's not a hidden gem because everybody fucking knows what Scrubs is.
Yeah. Right.
And then another one that was on Fox that I really enjoyed, and actually my dad enjoyed too, was one called Fastlane.
Oh yeah.
And it was because
I watched that one.
I initially watched it because I think it came out because Fast and Furious was big at that time, and it was like, big money playa, and they had like all the fancy cars, and they were down in like Los Angeles. And
I think that predated Fast and Furious actually.
I think it was
only on for like one season or half a season.
I think it was at least after the first Fast and Furious movie.
Maybe.
But anyway, so I got into that show because like they did a good job with the advertising, the commercials and stuff. They made it look like a lot of fun, and it was. It was like a small action movie every episode.
Yep.
The drug busts, and like it was the undercover cops with the fancy cars, and they had like the underground layer where they had all their fancy gadgets and everything. And I started watching it with my dad, and he's just like, I'm glad that you like this. You liked Miami Vice when you were younger too. And I was just like, he's like, this and the same kind of cutaways and the same. When they went to have like, the night like kind of sex scene or whatever, it was just like it played like the smooth music and had like the neon lights and the shadows and stuff. Smooth it's like jazz. This is like 2000s Miami Vice. Like that's exactly what it was. I was like, you know what? Yeah, it is. It's exactly the same. That's why I liked it so much.
You guys might be too young to remember, but Miami Vice, I didn't watch it myself, but it was huge back when it was on the air. It was like it was.
I watched reruns of it, so
I never really got into it.
Me either, but it was gigantic. It was like,
and you know what? Like when I was watching, it was like, that's totally where they got the formula from. And you know what? I think if it came out at a different time, it probably would have at least got a couple more seasons to it. I think, but it was just one of those ones that got buried in with 20 other shows that they couldn't keep afloat.
Timing sometimes will kill a show, regardless of how good it is.
Absolutely.
So that's, like, again, I was very kind of random with my shows and stuff like that, because they would be, I was out, like, hanging with my friends and stuff like that, because when I was in high school and stuff like that, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 18, and it was a cell phone. It wasn't a smartphone. It didn't do anything. I didn't have the internet. I hung out with my friends. I went and did stuff. I was playing my games and everything like that. So, and you had to watch TV. You couldn't watch stuff on demand. So it was like, you had to catch stuff every week if you wanted to keep up with continuity and everything. And so sometimes I would miss these shows, or I'd like see a couple episodes, I really liked that, and then it got canceled. So, it, and it's unfortunate, but that I didn't get to catch a lot of those kind of hidden gems. So I'm sure you have lots, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, see, that's why we've moved back to the serialized television design. Now that we have, like, even the advent of DVDs, like box sets, which was not a thing in the 80s and 90s. Now that it's cheap enough, you can get a whole DVD season at a time. You see these shows willing to take a chance on these long extended storylines,
especially because you can go on like Best Buy or something like that, or on Amazon and buy it for $40. Whereas when DVDs first came out, it's like, oh, you want the first season of this? Yeah, it's $160. It's like, nope,
nobody's gonna pay that much.
Yeah. So I mean, even through the mid '90s, unless it was like a serialized TV show, like a soap opera,
like an
Dallas.
HBO or something.
Yeah.
Not even HBO back then, because
really?
HBO wasn't even that big into television until like I think The Sopranos was the one that really did it.
Okay.
But and that was really the first. That was right around the era where the DVD box set became a big thing, even though they were really expensive back then. But now that we're in that era where we have video on demand and Netflix and DVDs and you just pay-per-view TV even you see a lot more of that. That's where you get these more in-depth year-long storylines, even though sometimes they just go completely off the rails. Like this great idea for a 5-year arc, and somewhere about year 2, it's like, wow, this is really awful. We're committed, so what do we do? How do we salvage this? So but back then, everything was all episodic. You could not do long arcs. It was just not done. Like you get like Star Trek. I remember the very first, as a kid, Star Trek: The Next Generation, when it came back, it was like, it was kind of, this is okay, and it got better, and then everyone remembers this, who was my age. It was the 2-part where Jean-Luc Picard got kidnapped by the Borg.
Yes.
It's like, boom. Season finale is like, you motherfuckers!
How dare you!
And it's like, that was like the first show I remember where it's like, wow, and nothing's ever going to be the same again. Yeah. And it's like, boom, shows can do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, unless you're watching Dallas or Dynasty, like a soap opera, you don't get this kind of continuous storyline.
Right.
So nowadays, I look for that especially. So
interesting.
And there were, like, even in the later 90s, there still wasn't a lot of that. I mean, one of the ones that I can think of right now that tried to at least have a continuous storyline was X-Files, actually.
Yeah.
Even though, it kind of dropped.
For better or worse.
Yeah, for better or worse. I mean, it was there. They did keep an overall theme going, and they did, like, later, they did keep more of a story going and that, which, again, was kind of bigger for them because a lot of stuff was episodic, or it had, maybe a couple returning characters or something like that. But there weren't their overall story arcs or anything like that. So,
and I tell you want to talk about a total waste of David Duchovny's talent.
Oh yes,
I did not like him as an actor until I saw him in Californication, which is a good hidden gem, or maybe not. So
I don't know if it's a hidden gem, but I've seen a couple episodes and it's amazing.
It needs to be seen.
When it first started, it wasn't super well known, but it kind of gained a lot of momentum very quickly because it was just great acting.
Great
writing.
It was the best role I've ever seen David Duchovny in.
Well, he was playing himself, right?
Basically,
pretty much. I remember because the last thing I'd seen before I watched that show was Evolution.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I was hoping you were going to say Twin Peaks.
Established that. He was excellent in that too.
Yeah.
I think we established.
Well, it was right up his alley though.
Took it, don't work.
You're fucking weird.
God.
So, as far as hidden gems go, lay it on us.
I've got a whole list. Why don't you go first? I'll round it out.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I've got like 3 in particular that I really remembered. The first one I kind of want to talk about because I don't think a lot of people saw the show was Reigns from like 2007, starring Jeff Goldblum of all people.
It was a TV show?
Yes, it was a TV show. It ran it had 7 episodes.
Never heard of it.
No, okay.
What's
so
the concept?
The concept of the show was basically the fact is that the main character he's a detective. His name's Reigns. He is a detective that actually sees hallucinations of the people who had died that he's trying to figure out things about. And it's interesting too because basically it was really well written because the fact is that they would never tell him anything he didn't already know, right? So he'd see the crime scene, then he'd start talking to this hallucination. People can hear him, like, talking to himself. But he's able to piece things together really well by talking to this hallucination. And so, of course, throughout the episode, very cliche, because you knew what was going to happen. But, he's talking to his friend in the park multiple times, stuff like that. And then by the end of the episode, it's like, oh no, his friend was murdered, he never solved it, so the hallucination hasn't disappeared, right? So the hallucinations don't disappear until they solve the crime. And, again, the hallucination changed in appearance every time he learned new information or learned something new about this person. Okay. So, again, it's a pretty cheesy concept, but it was surprisingly well written and
so is the conceit that you don't know whether or not he's actually seeing it or if he's just nuts?
Oh, no. Again, that's kind of the thing, and he's got a psychiatrist, and people are just like, dude, it weirds people out. You're talking to yourself all the time, but you get results, damn it, kind of thing, right? So
is he a loose cannon?
No, he was quite restrained in that show. He wasn't a loose cannon, nor was he a cop at the end of his line with nothing to lose.
I would absolutely give that one a try because I love Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, well,
he's such a character.
Well, that's why I was so surprised. I mean, again, I understand the show got canceled. There just wasn't enough there to keep people coming back. But I was surprised that nobody really heard of it because Jeff Goldblum had a TV role. And
what show was it on?
Gosh, I don't
what
even
know.
What channel? Oh, I don't even know. I think it says somewhere on this page here I'm looking at.
Sometimes you see with those kind of shows, they're like those niche dramas
that
you'll see a couple that are very similar, and one will just choke the life out of the other.
That could have been it, because...
Like Rufus Sewell had a show that was on called the 11th Hour, I think it was called. And he was a super... brilliant mind, and he was solving crimes. I think it was for the FBI, stuff involving super science, and almost exactly at the same time was Fringe.
Oh, okay.
With Anna Torv and my personal favorite Lance Reddick, who is the best voice ever. And it's that was like the X-Files for the 2000s.
Absolutely.
And it was absolutely off the rails. And you had John Noble. Who
was amazing.
Oh, brilliant in the role, and you're never really sure is John Noble actually a little bit goofy but he's actually quite brilliant. And you see that in a couple of the episodes where he is not quite as insane as he was. You get kind of a piece of his old malicious genius.
Yes, that's a little dark too.
Very dark,
super dark.
The whole show.
Yeah.
But I mean, it had its moments,
yes.
and I think Fringe is not a hidden gem.
No, it's quite well known. I think it's all over Netflix or something like that. But
this other show called The 11th Hour, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it was interesting. I watched it, and it had a lot of the same concepts, but it was just overshadowed entirely.
You know what? I can't remember what was on at the same time Reigns, but I'm fairly certain that the exact same thing happened. Again, like I say, I can't really recommend it.
It's not a new concept for a detective to touch something in a crime scene and he sees something or there's a ghost that talks to him or it's been done before.
For sure.
So I just want to see it because it's Jeff Goldblum and I want to see his interactions with his hallucinations.
See, now you're saying it, I'm picturing The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god! Wow, that's a deep cut. Oh my god!
All right, what's the next one there?
The next one. Two more here. Last Resort, which was from 2012 to 2013.
Really?
I actually really like that show. Nobody will agree with me on this one.
I was interested. I watched the first bit of it, and then it just took such a hard right. I guess when they were in danger of being canceled.
They knew.
Yeah. And it was just.
That. You're not wrong, because it was not, especially when they took that right turn. It was not great, but I really enjoyed watching it despite myself. It was just
because it was like watching a train wreck, or
well, see, at first I liked it because it was so intense. They had so few resources, and it was there was some actual drama as to what's going on. And the fact that they couldn't really do anything to protect themselves, so they had to basically mitigate damage to play damage control a lot really early on. But then the show got a little off the rails and not exactly the greatest way. And at that point, I was fully invested.
I kind of had the same problem with that show as I had with Prison Break.
Okay.
So, Prison Break,
see that.
The original Prison Break was supposed to be like a limited run miniseries.
Yes.
And just end.
It was literally one season, right?
Yeah. And for the first 12 episodes of and it was supposed to be the end of the series, and it ended up being like the mid-season.
Yeah.
It was, the guy was brilliant. Wentworth Miller played, the architect of the prison. He was brilliant, had all this in-depth plan, and then goes right through to the 12th episode, and at this point in time, it's the biggest thing ever since sliced bread. It was like Fox's bread and butter. They hung another, I think, 3 years on it. And then after that mid-season, after 12 episodes, he came back, and it was like Keystone Cops. It's like, we're going to improvise, or we're going to do crap, and there's a conspiracy that goes all the way up to the vice president.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, I don't know what happened after that.
Well, no, that's exactly what was happening with this show, except it happened so fast.
Because they knew
Because it was
earlier.
the one season.
No, exactly. they knew what was happening, and it was such a shame because, I mean, again, I was fully invested. I loved Andre Braugher. I thought he was fantastic in that role. Even when the show was fucking ridiculous, somehow he sold those things. It's like, I'm reminded of Idris Elba in what's it called, Pacific Rim, making that speech that you're like, tonight we're going to cancel Apocalypse. And you're like, oh, come on. But then you see him in the film, you're like, yeah! You know? Like, somehow he sold that fucking line. And that was Andre Braugher in almost every episode where you're like, this is fucking ridiculous. And he sells that situation. And again, like, I always enjoy when I see a really cool black character who is a main character, right?
He was in The Wire, too, wasn't he?
I'm pretty sure he was.
Bunny Colvin? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
Fairly certain he was. I didn't watch all of The Wire, so that was
Calm down, Jason. I know The Wire is like
swallow my tongue.
Everything to you.
I've been yelled at a lot about that. Don't worry. Don't worry, Jay. It's happening. It's happening.
On a show about television shows. You would
but I know
this.
what you're talking about, though, dude, because it's, you know what, even if a show is ridiculous or going down the crap or whatever, sometimes it is just straight up entertaining to watch it because the characters are just so damn good.
Sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And I do admit, I watched The Last Resort right until it became the most horrific thing on television. Because usually I give a new show like that is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I'll give it a season.
Yeah.
Because every show has their growing pains. Their first season is going to be like at least 50% awful and like 25% kind of serviceable connection pieces. And then you'll get the tent poles that really make you decide, are you going to watch the show going into a second?
One that is very strongly in that, it's not, you can't judge it as harshly because of the writer's strike, but Heroes was like that for us. I remember watching that. All of us were watching it at the same time.
I saw it coming, though. Going into the last couple episodes, just the arc of it, I really was concerned about it, and into season 2, it was just
because that's
2 or 3
when the
episodes.
writer's strike hit, and they had nothing. They couldn't do anything with it. I wish they had just...
it didn't get any better after that.
I just wish they'd put it on hiatus at that point. Well, the damage was done. After season 2, damage was done. They couldn't. That's why they're doing Heroes Reborn now. They're trying to salvage what they had.
I don't know. I think the problem went back like right to the original concept because
Peter character was a problem.
Yeah, he was real.
Well, he was beyond Superman. He didn't have a limited set of all the powers.
Yeah.
He had an unlimited set of anyone's power.
Exactly.
It was just ridiculous.
And so at that point, what do you do with the character to put peril back in? It's like the God of War effect. Oh, now he loses all his powers. He's got to go back all the way up again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So.
Oh boy, Heroes! I could do a whole episode on the ebb and flow because I watched the show and it was painful.
Love-hate relationship with that. I wanted to love it and it just didn't make it.
Because again, that was like, even though it was bad, there were some really good characters in it, and you could at least watch it. It wasn't just like, I'm done. Like we're done here.
Yeah, it kept pulling at your heartstrings too. Exactly for that reason because you're like, I want to see what happens.
It's like an abusive spouse.
Oh god!
It's like Lost. It's
it's
like this is good. Oh, this is terrible. It's kind of good again.
Jason, we're gonna have to have you back for an episode about failed and depressing TV shows because I need to talk to you about Lost.
I could do a whole episode just on Lost and how disappointed and angry I am.
Yeah.
Because it had such high moments.
Yes.
And just failed to reach the ultimate long con.
And I could fill the 45 minutes after that with laughter and the joy that I shared in that I never watched the show and I called it from the start.
Yeah,
it's like going into it. It's like, hey, you should watch this show. No, not gonna wait till it ends. Come on, it'll be good. It's going really well.
I mean, with the 4 of you guys discussing it around my cubicle all the time, I knew it was going on all the time. I didn't have to watch it, and then I called the ending like years and years out. So,
oh my god,
I want 7 years of my life back.
You must have been pretty vindicated. At
it was a joyous day.
I think I remember coming in after the show. I was like, "Well, you were right."
Yeah. And I just had a big shit-eating grin on my face. So,
so the last show that I consider kind of a hidden gem, I feel like it's gotten a bit of a resurgence, but I still don't hear people talk about it a lot. Was Pushing Daisies from 2007-2009.
That was an ABC one, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so that one I had a little bit of an experience with that one, and. I don't know if there's other people out there that agree with me, but there's something I don't like about ABC. There's something about their shows that they share. I don't know if it's the camera work, the lighting, I don't know, just the overall kind of just how they write their stuff. Like, it's every show I've seen from ABC just just totally just strikes something with me where I'm just like, something's off, I don't like this, I don't want to watch this.
All I can say is Person of Interest is on ABC, so fuck you.
Oh, okay. that one I haven't
really
seen,
good.
so
Yes.
I do want to give that one a chance.
Well,
but everything else I've seen from them, I watched like 5 or 6 episodes of Pushing Daisies, and there was just something off about it, and I didn't like. I guess maybe there's a bit of campiness to it too.
Oh, it's super. That show's
like.
all camp. Like, it's super camp.
And it was just like. I think one of the other things that bugged me too was like all the sets were like CG and everything, and like
CG sets.
well, it wasn't so much sets, okay, because they had like the diner and stuff.
Yes.
But every time they rolled up to a set, it was a CG like camera swoop in on like a building or on like the diner that they all worked in, and like all this kind of stuff. And it was just weird.
It
like,
didn't
very
look great,
weird.
but it was very deliberate. Like, I can say this much about the show. First, like I'm a fan of Brian Fuller's work. Like, you know, Hannibal, Dead Like Me, stuff like that. Even early Heroes, Brian Fuller.
You mean early Dead Like Me?
Dead Like Me.
Yes, also
was that the
true.
one that was on Showcase with the chick who she could talk to like dead
Yes,
people?
yes, she was a Reaper. Yeah.
I actually really liked that one. I watched the first
early
season.
Early,
anyways.
yes, exactly. That's
So
When
it got
Mandy
worse, I
Patinkin was
guess.
still involved.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. But I felt like that show was just, again, like, what I really liked about that show, first of all, I really enjoyed the ridiculous, like, sing-songy dialogue. Like, because, again, I felt like it was well-written, really clever, but it was also kind of adorable. But at the same time, that show was actually, like, really dark a lot of the time.
It did have that going. It was it was what you call, I guess, like dark comedy. Almost.
Oh, absolutely. Like, actually, like, pitch black comedy a lot of time. Like, there was one of my favorite scenes with somebody dying. It was hilarious because they were talking about how this person died, and basically he slipped on the floor or something, and there was like a comb with a really sharp end or whatever. He fell on it, and he like stabbed himself, got off of it, and then slipped again, and just did that like several times. And I'm just
so it was like the rake gag in like Simpsons where he keeps stepping on the rakes.
Yeah. Like it was like there's just stuff like that were so funny and so well done, and that was my introduction to Lee Pace, whose name was Ned, interestingly enough. But like just found that the characters and the writing so amusing and interesting. And again, I felt like it was like a dark fairy tale was essentially the idea. Again, like those CG pans were really shitty, but like they were very deliberate for that reason.
It was part of the show.
Exactly. And again, like I felt like this. And actually, it's funny because I often compare Hannibal to this show because there's a ton of similarities between those two things. With the
what?
Exactly, right? And that's the thing. But when you actually look at it and examine the two shows, there's a ton of similarities, which is one of the reasons I really like Hannibal. Because the thing is that the dialogue is incredibly deliberate and very sing-songy. Even in Hannibal, this dialogue oftentimes is almost sing-songy or
one
operatic.
takes itself seriously and one doesn't.
Well,
I guess.
Exactly. And the other thing about that is every set is so meticulously put together, where almost everything in the set for Hannibal, very much so, but also Pushing Daisies, is important. Everything's put in a very specific place. And if you're paying attention, you'll be like, oh, wait, they actually showed that, or they called that back, or something like that. And the thing is that they trust the audience to either pick up on these things, or, again, if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. But they're not, even though the show is very light in tone, but it's not treating you like an idiot.
Yeah.
So, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, shows like that like have the buried gags in the background, or in that case, like buried pieces of Easter eggs.
Yes.
Like Arrested Development. Like
that was a good one
so
for that.
deep for the hidden gag.
Oh God, absolutely.
Like where there'd be the scene where Buster is sitting on the park bench, and it's like army officer, and he sits down and it blocks and it says arm off.
Yeah.
Or foreshadows it.
The Wee Britain, Wee Brain.
Wee Brain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like,
There's so much of that. It was my favorite aspect of the show.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, so that's kind of it for me. So how about you, Jason? What are your hidden gems?
Okay, going back, hidden gems. There was one in particular from I think it was 2006 called Daybreak, starring
I remember
Diggs.
that one. That was good.
Yeah,
And
I never watched it.
And anyone who's not familiar with the show, go out and get it at Amazon for like $30-something for the whole season. It's only one
on
season.
my list.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day mixed with a police procedural, and it's basically Tay Diggs. He's reliving the same day over and over again.
Yeah.
And the two major differences are, first of all, if he gets injured, it actually carries over to the next day. So he's not invulnerable like Bill Murray was.
Yeah, he did kill himself to get to the next day.
Yeah, he got shot, and then the next day he wakes up in his pool of blood, and he has to explain to his girlfriend why he's shot and whatnot, at least for the first day. And then it's like for the rest of the episode, he's like waking up early to try and patch himself.
Oh, man.
And while it heals in real time, right? Day to day.
Interesting.
But the other aspect is he's trying to unravel this mystery, but what's interesting is it's not, the day doesn't reset 100%. the events, as he changes things, it starts to have almost a momentum as things shift. Like, people's attitudes towards him at the beginning of the series, after going and working with them more and more and becoming like a better partner to his partner and treating his soon-to-be wife's ex-husband with more respect, who used to be his friend, the attitude shifts slightly. So you can see he's having an overall effect as he's piecing things together. So he's kind of using that to his advantage. But overall, it's like this big conspiracy, and as he learns things that he couldn't possibly know within a 24-hour period, he starts to see the effect. He has to like pick and choose what he does in what order to ultimately game out the best possible day. And I won't spoil it at the end, but he's always counting on the next reset to be the one they'll finally.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. Right at the end, it wraps up beautifully for a one-season series. It doesn't leave you with like, oh, what could have happened? There's a cliffhanger, but it's not enough to be like, this is still satisfying as a self-contained one-season show.
Yeah. He basically had to work until the next leap was the leap home.
Exactly. So he solved the immediate mystery, and there was a big conspiracy, and there's implications there could have been a larger story had they got a second season.
Right.
But it wasn't enough that it's like, oh, we're cut off, and now we'll never know, and
it was at least satisfying.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're just like, aliens, and then
exactly.
That's actually one thing I forgot to mention just quickly about Pushing Daisies was the ending was very disappointing because they had to rush it.
Like Dead Like Me.
Exactly. Same thing. And I'm
thing.
just like, oh, Brian Fuller, why do you keep doing this to me?
Exactly.
So, yeah, anyway.
So it's always dangerous to commit to that kind of long-term tentpole show, just in case they don't happen to meet their target and they got to wrap up everything at the end, and it may not be satisfying. You end up with these terrible, contrived endings that just, bash everything together in the least, most efficient method to just end it and put it out on the box set.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So anyway, Daybreak as a single season still holds together. Very well done. Taye Diggs is excellent in the role. Adam Baldwin's excellent in his role. Moon Bloodgood is in it.
Oh, wow.
And the guy, what's his face? Aidan Gillen from... no, pardon me. That's from The Wire again. Jonathan Banks, the guy who played Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. A role he was in for a season before it. He was really good overall, so definitely check that out.
Okay.
I don't know, hidden gems. The Killing, which got a resurgence because of Netflix.
Yeah.
Although the later season's not as good, but the first two seasons
were fantastic.
Very good.
Yes, I watched that when it was new.
It was
what is that one? I've never even heard of that one, actually.
It's like Twin Peaks. Like, they had the
it
mystery.
Was so Twin Peaks.
Yeah, except it was good. I'm not a big David Lynch fan. I'm sorry.
Shots fired.
I'm sorry. Eraserhead was terrible.
Whoa!
Eraserhead was the worst
what
film
are you
I've
doing?
ever seen. I love films, and I'm sorry, but Eraserhead was
Holy shit.
No.
Okay.
I played all the Silent Hill games. They freaked me out. Eraserhead was still just more terrifying than anything I've ever seen in a horror film ever. And it wasn't even supposed to. It was just awful. No. Dune, terrible.
Whoa!
Terrible.
Whoa!
Terrible.
Oh,
terrible.
My goodness. Oh, my God.
I mean, the Sci-Fi Channel remake that they did, the mini-series of Dune, was worlds better.
Oh, my goodness. I've never seen that one.
Oh, worth checking out.
Okay.
There's your hidden gem. Don't bother seeing Children of Dune, the follow-up that they made after the first part was good. But
Noted.
William Hurt is in there as Duke Leto Atreides, and the kid is actually, I don't think he was in much else, but he's one of those character actors you might recognize from other things. But anyway, very good if you like Dune, but don't bother watching Children of Dune. It was terrible. So anyway, you have to see The Wire. We'll move on from that.
Yes.
One that's on these days, which I don't know if it's a hidden gem. It's actually pretty popular now, but I think it needs to be seen by anyone who likes science fiction, is Sci-Fi's relaunch of 12 Monkeys as a TV series.
I watched part of that. That was really interesting.
It's really good.
I
went in expecting zero, like nothing. Because I like 12 Monkeys.
Because it really did come out of nowhere, too.
It kind of did. Like, I was thinking, 12 Monkeys is a series? How does that work?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know how it's going to go, but they make it work, and it's very fresh.
And every episode, you're just like, oh, God!
And it's like, and they do such interesting things with time travel. You've seen time travel stories a million times before. But it's just different enough, and you see enough being used that they don't have to, time travel obviously has a flawed concept, but you know enough to know that it has internal consistency.
Yes,
to
they
its
stick
own
to
logic.
their rules. That's the best part about that show.
And that's the only way to handle that kind of science fiction. You have a set of rules and you live by them, as like outlandish and unbelievable as they are. You have to be internally consistent, and that's how you make a good science fiction movie with, impossible things like faster than light travel or whatever.
No red matter.
Exactly. Oh, don't even.
No, I know that's your prime example.
We'll have another episode of just the new Star Trek movies. The new Star Trek movies are not good.
Oh God,
they're not good as a Star Trek movie. They're not good as a science fiction movie, and they're not good as a movie.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
On any level, they are terrible.
So much for that.
There we are. High five, Nedu. That's a separate episode. Anyway.
Yeah.
So 12 Monkeys, internally consistent. It's all about, for those who haven't seen the movie, which if you haven't, you should be ashamed of yourself. Bruce Willis is in it, and he's being sent back from the future to find out the source of this infection that destroyed civilization. Basically, they're in the future. There's a mass contagion. Like 98% of the population died, and all that's left is this group of people that were immune. They're clinging to the end of life, and life at this point is finally re-emerging, and they're trying to go back and figure out if they get the original source of the infection, they can inoculate in case there's any further mutations. There'll be no additional people being wiped out, because there's very few people left, and that's it. So the television show takes place exactly the same scenario, but it expands upon the conspiracy, and the Brad Pitt character is actually recast as a woman. It's the same general character, and she's like balls out Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But she does it very well.
Oh, she's awesome.
Oh, she's incredible. Whoever, I don't know who the actor is. I've never seen her in anything before, but she owns that role and makes it her own, like Brad Pitt who, basically.
Yeah.
So, it's basically the overall plot is as they go, it's like week to week, they find out another piece of the conspiracy, another piece of the puzzle as they go on, and they're obviously going to go a lot more into the background than the movie did. But it's
they got a bit more time on their side.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I think because it was on the Sci-Fi Channel, it ran I think 13 episode seasons instead of like a 22 or 20 episode season. So it was very tight, very compact. There was no
filler whatsoever.
No filler at all. And like every aspect of it was well done. And I can't think of the guy's name who was in Band of Brothers and in Fringe. Who played Charlie on Fringe, and who played I can't think of the guy's name, but he's brilliant as the main character's like his sort of bosom buddy friend.
Yeah, that guy. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, he's in everything too.
Yeah, and he becomes the perfect foil for him as he kind of becomes the philosophical center.
Yes.
Like he questions, he's going back in time to basically die and set things right so that the future never happens. And he's like, is it worth your life? You're putting yourself through this. And it's killing him as he does it.
Yeah. What I really like about that character too is because that actor almost always plays an asshole.
Yes.
Almost always, but he was so good as his best friend.
Oh,
his
brilliant.
name is Kirk Acevedo.
Acevedo, I think it is.
Okay.
But he's brilliant. He was in Band of Brothers.
Yes.
He was amazing in Band of Brothers. He was in Fringe. He was like Olivia's partner in Fringe. Charlie, I can't remember his last name. But anyway,
he was good in that too. He was also a good guy in that.
But in this, he shines like back to the Band of Brothers days. So he's and what's best about it is I was listening to an interview he was giving based on 12 Monkeys and its success.
Yeah,
he does not sound like that. He does not have a gruff voice like this. No. He has like a very high register voice. Until he actually does the voice, you would not know it was him.
That's his TV voice.
Exactly.
Like he does that voice for like all his characters.
Everything.
Yeah.
I would have never known, but that is not his voice. So he's stuck with the Batman voice forever.
That's what people cast him for, I'm sure.
But yeah, so 12 Monkeys, if you haven't seen it, go watch it now. It's coming back this fall for the second season. It's been renewed for another year.
Because they haven't put it on Netflix or anything yet.
I don't think so. No, it's strictly on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it's like going back to, I think it's the first show that succeeded since Battlestar.
Okay.
I don't consider Defiance a success.
Oh boy, Defiance! Oh boy.
Although it is going into its third season, isn't it?
I want to hate Defiance, but at the same time, it does have some interesting aspects.
I feel the same way. I can't stop watching it, even though it's not good.
I think it's because you
not,
want it to be Firefly, but it isn't.
No, it's not Firefly. But
Okay.
It's like you go back to like kind of the big sci-fi experience, like the high concept space opera, with all the different races, and like something like Babylon 5.
Yeah, Babylon 5.
If Babylon 5 had a production budget but worse writers.
Oh, boy.
So, and I like Babylon 5,
So
yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of it doesn't stand the test of time.
No, it really doesn't.
Whereas Defiance is like the opposite. It's like it has a lot of interesting concepts, but it's like it's so over-designed.
Oh, boy.
There's like all these different races, and they all came to Earth for reasons.
Yes.
and they refer to these events that happened in the past, and they don't
barely
really
have any idea what they are.
Because I guess they expected you to play the tie-in game, which no one ever did.
Nope.
Which was awful. But the show itself, there's enough interesting aspects that I keep watching to just see, do they turn it around?
Yes.
Because you go back to like the first season of Farscape, as they were just kind of finding their feet, and it was like episodic week to week, and some of the filler stuff. Yeah. There's enough there that you could see the gems that this could all tie together and be awesome. And over 2 or 3 years later, it became really good. Yeah. After I think the last half of the first season started to be good, but Defiance has gone through, I think it's middle of the 3rd season now. Yeah. And it's really kind of struggling.
Yeah, oh boy.
But it's like got such a high production budget, so...
Yeah, I know, that's probably why, but I gotta say, at least it's still going. It's nice to see some original sci-fi out there.
It's true, and not Sharknado.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Which I think is like, after, I was afraid that the sci-fi, SYFY channel, it's big sci there.
Yeah.
I was so happy when they recently admitted that rebranding as sci-fi, SYFY may have been an error. To the surprise of absolutely no one.
Strongly worded, may have been.
Calculated.
Not their finest hour.
Oh, God.
Anyhow, so you have to watch The Wire.
Yeah, oh yes, I know. Oh, I know.
Everyone that's listening, you have to watch The Wire.
I could do a whole episode just on The Wire, and it's brilliant.
You could do an entire year's worth of content on how
I
much
don't know
you like
about that,
The
but I
Wire.
mean, Idris Elba as Stringer Bell. You get I can't remember his name. The guy who played Bubbles, he was fantastic. Lance Reddick as their task force lead. Like his voice alone just gave me chills. He's got the certain cadence when you hear him talk, even if you've never seen him in person. Just hearing his voice on video games, you know exactly whose impression I'm doing just by the cadence of his voice.
You just listen to him to go to sleep now, don't you?
I would. He would be very distinctive voices.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very good ear. But Lance Reddick, and Dominic West as the main character, the complete utter fuck up McNulty, like great detective, terrible human being, but not terrible like reprehensible, just terrible, just flawed and human. And he's drunk. He has a failed marriage. He's trying to get his life in line, and he keeps fucking up his life, and he just runs all of his bosses ragged with like these high ideals of what police work should be, while they're trying to rein it in with budget and politics and all the other aspects of the police that you don't see in things like Law and Order. Yeah. And it's such a brilliant show because it's like the compromise between police work and what's politically expedient, and all the wheels that go on in the police force about this guy owes this guy a favor, and this guy's in bed with this politician, and this guy knows the mayor, and this guy knows the counselor.
It's the underbelly of the detective work and everything like that.
And it's like even the criminals, the Avon Barksdale and his family, they're such like fully fleshed characters that even the worst among them, you still find yourself sympathizing with and rooting for. And I mean, you get like Omar, like such an awesome guy. I don't know. I'm looking at you.
You will know who he is.
Don't worry, I will. I know who the actor is.
You have to. I will lend you the box set. Like once a year at a minimum, I go back and watch all of The Wire, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, same emotional. I'm sure you go through the same emotional, like kind of like cadence every single time, right? Like you've got those shows like that where you just love it so much, and every time you watch it, it's almost like you're watching it for the first time, even though you know exactly what's happening. Yeah.
And every time I do that, and I sit down to watch a series, like it'll play in the background while I'm doing something, or maybe I'll sit down to watch it. The Wire is still compelling enough for me to do that. And just every time when you come to the end of the series, if it's a really well done series, it fills you with such melancholy and at the same time satisfaction that it like came to this fantastic conclusion, but at the same time it's over and there'll never be any more. So it's bittersweet, but I always go back to it because it's just end to end brilliant.
Yeah. Any other hidden gems you got there? Or?
Most of these aren't really hidden. Like, actually, one I will say.
Yeah.
One that was on just this year, and one that I expected absolutely nothing from, because it was helmed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I need to watch this show.
Wayward Pines.
I keep hearing that.
So, you kind of have the Twin Peaks sort of aesthetic to it, but at the same time, going into the first episode, immediately, like, this is not a M. Night slow burn kind of thing. Like, week to week, it's only, I think, a 12-episode series. It's a mini-series. There'll never be any more of it. It's based on a 3-novel series by a guy named Blake Crouch, and it was the Wayward Pines series. There's 3 books, and the mini-series covers the events, basically, of all 3 books. And immediately from the first episode, there's, like, a twist. As they kind of unravel the story, it happens immediately, and it happens again and again and again. And the big, like, end of series twist that you might expect from an M. Night Shyamalan thing happens in episode 6.
Oh, okay.
And so you have after that 6 episodes to reel from this as it completely turns their whole story on its head as to what it really is. So you go into it expecting Twin Peaks meets The Prisoner, and you come out of it with something entirely different that actually does work. I don't know overall if I think it could have used a bigger budget for certain aspects, and I won't go into it for spoiler reasons, but overall, and I will say that some of the acting is a little uneven, but because the main character is, I can't think of his name, god damn it, doesn't matter. Anyway, but the main character, there's a lot of like big.
You recognize it.
Oh yeah, you absolutely would. Ethan something. I don't know.
Ethan Hawke.
No. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. But anyway, there's some big name Hollywood actors. You get Juliette Lewis is in it, and it doesn't matter. Long story short, it's worth seeing. And it kind of vindicates M. Night Shyamalan, maybe because he didn't write the script.
He didn't write it, he just directed it. So.
But it was well worth watching, and it's interesting just for a little short snippet of television.
Interesting.
So yeah,
that was
well
a
worth
Netflix
watching.
one, or
it was not. It was on. I don't know which show it was on. It may have been on Fox actually.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think it was on Fox.
Okay.
Which immediately I think 12-episode series. Okay, he probably will make it to the end.
Yeah, we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but I went into it expecting nothing, and the first couple episodes they already hooked me with the concept. I actually had to go out and read the books, and the books it was fairly close to the books overall. So I actually think that some of the changes they made were a little bit better than the books.
Interesting.
Well worth seeing. I don't know if it's out on DVD yet or where, but you can certainly find it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wayward Pines.
Interesting. All right. So the last thing on the ticket is basically, we'll see how long this one will take us, because I think we can all agree. We want to talk about, like, together, kind of openly, full spoilers about a TV show that we all watched recently that we were like, and one that, if you guys, something that people are still talking about, so you guys can kind of, be part of the conversation as well. And the show we kind of decided to talk about was Daredevil. Because, I think we are all huge fans of that show, and we're all kind of surprised by how good it was.
I've already spent like 20 minutes on this previous episode, so let's continue then.
All right.
I think the biggest factor that made it a success is the fact that it wasn't the Ben Affleck Daredevil.
Well, that's, it's... Yeah, because if people went into it and be like, it can't be as bad as Ben Affleck, it's like, well, that certainly helped it. Because nothing's as bad as the Ben Affleck one. Even Stan Lee himself has been like, what Daredevil movie? I never made a Daredevil movie.
Absolutely. I mean, part of the best thing about it was, like, Daredevil as a concept, like, Marvel has done a fantastic job of making what might be considered second-string superheroes, marketable and really interesting. Like starting with Iron Man, which everyone was aware of,
but nobody really
followed.
cared about him
Well,
until
just interjecting here. The reason again why as a kid and to this day I enjoy Marvel better than DC is for the most part a lot of their characters. Stan Lee went ahead and he put them in the real world for a reason. He wanted them to have real problems, being alcoholic or blind or handicapped in some way, or he wanted to give them real world problems so that they would be not only more relatable, but they would have more interesting backstories and history and stuff like that. And I mean, something with a blind superhero, everyone's just like, what the fuck does he do? He's blind. He can't do anything. Yeah. He ends up being one of the most kick-ass guys around. He's amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, going back to my comic reading days, which admittedly wasn't as big as some. I mean, I was aware of Daredevil and his storyline, but I mean, as a concept, it never really interested me. I always preferred Marvel over DC for that very reason. I mean, I won't even talk about how much I hate Superman. But Daredevil, it didn't really appeal to me. And then when Ben Affleck did his thing, that terrible, awful...
Really just drove it down even more. It's wow, I'm glad I wasn't a fan of Daredevil.
Yeah, because I'm really glad I wasn't invested in this at all, because they just pissed all over it.
Yeah. Oh boy, that was tough.
So, I think the low expectations, the very low bar that the show had to exceed was definitely an asset. So people went in going, okay, it's Marvel, they've had a really good track record, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, all of that was great. Let's see what they're going to do on Netflix, where they have a little bit more budget, some more adult themes that they can't show on television.
Yeah.
And so then they go and they turn around and they get Vincent D'Onofrio in there as the Kingpin, and he just blows the doors off.
Oh my god!
Well, I did not expect that at first too, because when I guess when he initially started kind of delivering some lines, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes and stuff like that. And by the end, I was just like, this guy's epic. You couldn't have picked a better fucking person for this.
What a great...
Because the character of the Kingpin in the comics and in the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, it's just a cartoon cutout piece of cardboard character with no depth at all.
Yeah.
You don't really care about him because it's he's just this villainous foil for the hero.
He's just a monster mafioso guy.
Yeah. Two-dimensional.
Just punch through walls, basically. Yeah. That's about it. There's not a lot to him.
And they gave him such humanity, and obviously he's still just a monstrous person. But you can relate to why he's that way.
Yeah, and see that was the really good part about it, was I didn't expect them to, because I'm not one for kind of some mushy stuff or cramming a whole bunch of humanity where it doesn't need to go.
Yeah.
But they did such a good job with them that I was just I love this character, because it wasn't just because when you go to the movie version or the comic book version, it was just he's just this big strong guy and he tries to punch Spider-Man or Daredevil in this case.
Yeah.
But in there, it's when he's beating the shit out of Daredevil, he's doing it for a damn good reason, and it's really well received too.
Well, that show had two primary characters, Daredevil and Kingpin. Yeah. Those were the Kingpin story and backstory was just as important as Daredevil's.
Yes.
And you could the awesome thing, and this is what I love about good writing and good villains, is a villain you can be you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
I know what you're doing. You're still an asshole, but I know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you honestly, at one point, Daredevil and Kingpin were almost trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But horribly different ways.
Yeah. You guys saw Battlestar Galactica, the
remake,
right?
Yes.
My favorite part of the series, absolutely favorite part of the series, was the whole Pegasus mini.
Oh my god, that was amazing!
Yes. Where you get Admiral Kane comes in, and she comes in and she calls Adam on the carpet. She calls his whole track record into question, and she's all these choices, all these decisions, and she is 100% accurate.
Oh my god. I have to say, there's a specific scene with a song that is burned into my brain that I will never forget for the rest of my life. I wish I remember what the song was called, because I downloaded the soundtrack immediately after hearing that song. But the time where Adama and, oh gosh, I can't remember her name even though you just said
Michelle Forbes is Admiral Kane.
Admiral Kane. Yeah, when they were just preparing to go to war with each other, the scene kept and the scene kept switching back and forth to them preparing, and oh my god, I had to watch that scene maybe 4 or 5 times in a row because it was so incredible.
That was that right there was up there with the Star Trek Best of Both Worlds for worst cliffhangers season ever. God. And that was a mid-season finale.
End of season 1 too.
End of season 1
was definitely one of those.
We can.
But sorry. Wow, that just reminded me.
Yeah, sorry, but the whole point was that I like when you have a villain,
Yeah.
and they're going up against the hero, where you're not sure who you want to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you could actually root for both sides.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, there's the bad guy. He needs to lose.
And
that's
that's
the bad guy.
Yeah, because I don't like shows that are so
painfully black and white.
yeah, or just two-dimensional that it's like, oh, I'm here to oppose you because you're the hero and I'm not.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like that's not something we see from Marvel generally, because Marvel movies and TV shows are notoriously bad for villains. I mean, with the exception of Loki, the villains tend to not be that interesting, or tend to be very two-dimensional, or you're the bad guys because you're bad.
Oh, I don't know about that. You think of like Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom.
Well, no, I'm talking about most of the movies,
Oh,
like
well,
the
yeah,
MCU. Because like comic book-wise, there's some incredible, tremendous villains, and I would love to see the MCU have Doctor Doom, but that's a whole other story.
Just the whole Civil War concept.
Yeah,
in general,
exactly.
like, you know,
Exactly.
Iron Man versus Captain America.
Yeah.
But generally in the shows, like again, we've got Hydra who are like, we're super evil, we do double Nazi salute, we're just that evil, right? But then you see, right?
This is true.
Lord.
This is true.
But then you see Kingpin, and you're just like, he's so sympathetic. And Dan, you and I were talking about this before, where he's just like, he's like this really powerful, really kind of frightening dude, but then when he's in public or, you know, going on dates, he's awkward and kind of almost a little bit silly. And
that was the part that really sold it for me, because when you first get introduced, and I mean, if you know anything about like the Daredevil universe and stuff like that, it's like, you know, he's Kingpin. Like when they keep the, you know, my boss or the guy we can't talk about. So it's like as soon as you hear Fisk, it's like, okay, it's Wilson Fisk, it's Kingpin. I knew who he was right away.
Yeah.
So that was not like in the shadows or anything like that. But the part that really got me was, you know, you kind of see him because he is kind of staying in those shadows and he's kind of like hanging out and stuff like that. And it's like, he does seem a little awkward and stuff like that.
Seems very
And then when he goes kind of public and stuff like that, it's like, you can tell like he's never done this before, and he really sells it in that role. And
it's so endearing too.
It is.
Yeah,
so it's like again, you kind of feel for him.
He also
just
killed
like
the dude by killing him in the fucking.
Because even though this mafia goes, it's like he's a bad guy. He kills people and shit like that. It's like when he does kind of do that whole role and stuff, it's like, wow, I kind of feel bad for him because he doesn't know what he's doing, and like he is a little awkward in this role and stuff, and it just really, really works. And then, of course, they do such a good job with that role too. It's, and
I really like the fact that they didn't stoop to making Fisk evil because they killed his love interest.
Yeah,
yes.
God,
I was waiting for that.
I was waiting for that too.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, it's going to happen like this. It's like it's been done so many times before, and they did it. They handled it in such a subtle way. You can see how this woman gets sort of seduced by his power, and while she knows that he does have some unseemly aspects to his lifestyle, she knows that inside him, what he's doing, if you think about the Kingpin character, it's the destruction of New York after Avengers. He's capitalizing on the rebuilding and trying to reshape the city in his image.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you might take some shortcuts to do it and take some really unfortunate steps. But what he really wants, he's the ends justifies the means. He just wants to see the city rebuilt and be better than it was before and put his own stamp on it.
He loves the city. He loves where he lives and he wants to improve it.
So aside from his means, he, as a role, he would be like a sympathetic character. He would be someone you would want to root for.
And speaking of like his girlfriend, I don't remember what her is. It Vanessa?
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. So his, you know what? I was kind of worried that her character would almost kind of gunk things up a little.
Yeah.
And I mean, technically, that's what's supposed to happen in the storyline, slows him down a little and stuff like that. But there's also the fact that when I saw her at first, I was like, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. But as it went along, there's this almost a hidden character that you don't quite pick up unless you're really paying attention, because she kind of, doesn't go off on a tangent, but she talks about, it's like, look, I know who you are, or I kind of know what you do.
Yeah.
Do you think this is my first rodeo? I think she actually says that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that's really good, actually, because you can tell she's ready for this. Like, she's clearly dated,
all in.
She's clearly dated a crime boss or some kind of mafioso or something like that, and she's done this before. So, and I thought that was really cool that they kind of slipped it in there without saying, "Oh, I used to date, Fat Tony or something." Like, it wasn't like it wasn't so blatant.
I did a lot of people. But actually, what you're worried about her gunking things up. In reality, she does the opposite.
Yeah, she helps him become more clear.
She helps him become more brutal.
Yeah, she pushes him
the whole
into
sequence where they're having dinner and the Russian guy comes in. He's all upset about Daredevil beating the shit out of him and whatnot. And because, he comes in and ruins their dinner, he takes him out to the waterfront and he crushes his head in the car door.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget to put spoiler alert.
Oh, no, I said, don't worry, there's going to be spoilers.
But literally, like, up until this point, Kingpin, there was menace to him. There was, obviously he had restrained power. But this is the first inkling you get of his raw physicality as he utterly destroys this guy.
And it wasn't just the killing. It's like this. You see him pick up this guy who's like not much shorter than he is. Like pick him up and throw him around and like punch his face in and stuff. And that leads into the next part of the show that I really like is, holy crap, is this ever violent?
Oh, super violent.
It is so entertainingly violent, but it's well done.
It's with purpose.
It's very much with purpose. I would call it tasteful almost, because it is almost ultra-violence, but it's done for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they do it, it's not like they're just shooting a bunch of people every single episode or something like that. It's like when it happens for usually for a very damn good reason, and they do it very well too. It isn't there isn't blood like spray up the wall and stuff like that. But when they're beating the crap out of a guy, or they're like shooting a bunch of the Russians or something like that, like it's very well done. I really enjoyed that part of it.
That's what makes that scene so effective. Is that up until that point, Vincent D'Onofrio plays Kingpin, menace, heavy gravitas.
Yeah,
but. That is at that moment. I think it's the second or third episode. It's the first time you see him actually take things into his own hands.
Yes,
and his effete manservant guy, who's like his.
That guy's great.
He is.
And
he's like his mouthpiece to all the other crime bosses.
Cool.
He's in the car, like not 3 feet away from this Russian guy is getting destroyed, and he just sits there, and you see him flinch. Blood sprays up his face and into his eye, and he just casually takes his glasses off.
What a fantastic scene to just tell you what that character's about.
It really sets the tone for like what they're doing and what he's seen and or hasn't seen or whatever.
It's so effective because up until that point, you've never seen any sort of inkling that he would be anything other than a man behind the scenes. And suddenly Kingpin is this raw animal force.
Yeah.
And just to see this very well manicured man just get his suit is wrecked all up his face, and he just doesn't react. He knows that this is not an uncommon thing.
This has happened before, and it will continue to happen.
It was such an effective scene.
And again, that's the kind of like just with the whole with his woman and the crime, like possibly dating a crime boss and stuff. Like that. They do it in that subtle way where they don't have to put it out there like this has happened before. They just kind of do it subtly like that, and I really like how they did that. Like the writing was just so well done in it. It was just from episode to episode. There was never a dull moment. There was never that time where it's just like, oh well, that was an episode. Like it was so well done episode to episode.
Well, just going back to her, like the one thing that I really liked was the scene where the beginning of the episode shows him putting a suit together on his own and stuff like that, right? But then the scene after they kind of have that conversation and she's helping him put the suit together, it's just like, again, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily subtle, but it's a very good way to show that she's just all on board with this.
She's on board. She's taking charge of certain things too, because she's getting right in there.
Makes him choose other cufflinks than the one of his father.
Yes. Oh yes, that was a big moment.
Like
actually.
It was him coming into his own with the help of this woman, and she was just like, I know what you're doing. Let's do this. You don't need to hide this part of your life from me, which is a big deal for him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
they didn't have to spend 3 or 4 episodes dancing around bullshit. They just got right to it.
Speaking of 3 or 4 episodes, what I really like is the way the writing is constructed and the pacing of it, that they didn't have what you see in often these superhero shows, the first episode where they have the big origin story and whatnot.
Boy.
And they like trickle it out over like 3 or 4 episodes with some flashbacks and subtle callbacks, and you don't even get to see what Daredevil actually sees, like his version of the Vision, until like halfway through the series.
Absolutely.
And even then, they don't overuse it. Like you see it like once or twice, and that's it. Because you don't really need to. It's like it's like, why do I have to see through his eye, or see air quotes to see through his eyes? Like it's not even necessary at that point. Like I almost like by the time they showed it to me, I was like, I don't even care.
I always felt the same way. I was like, I don't need an explanation at this point. I really don't. And they didn't hammer that in too much, which is kind of interesting because I mean, even Marvel has especially early on, had a bit of a tendency to over-explain certain aspects or like explain it through science or whatever. And even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had that issue a lot too.
Because they were going with the big public thing. They were still trying to get people who kind of get into it and understand it stuff. I think by now they've kind of chilled on that a little, and they're just like, take it as it is.
They're superheroes. They got powers. Deal with it.
Yeah.
And
they have an audience now that's sophisticated enough to just go, okay, these are the powers he has. Why he has them isn't really as important as how it affects his life.
Exactly.
And that's the way to do it.
When it comes to action scenes,
I
am so picky. Like, I am very picky. And I will admit, like, I hope I don't get too much... Well, maybe I get some flack for this. Like, there were certain scenes that I felt were just simply too dark. Just not, like, just visually.
Dark in terms of, like, brightness?
Aesthetically, yes.
Okay.
Yes, just brightness. Where I'm just like, oh, man, I wish I could see a little bit more clearly. Because the martial arts they're doing are really good.
Do you know why they did that, though? That was actually a conscious choice, too. Because they wanted you to... they wanted you to almost experience it as being partially blind.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of experience the scene a little more that way.
Yes, and I do know that. And again, like, this is just me being like, oh, I wish I could have seen that a little bit more clearly because that looks awesome.
Just turn the brightness up.
God, no, that doesn't help. I tried. But having said that, episode 2, again, this is actually, I feel like that scene in the basement where he was fighting those guys, where they did that almost tracking shot.
It reminded me of Old Boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely, and yes.
Oh, and there was another one, because I had seen that scene before I had actually watched the show.
Right.
So I was like, that was really cool. So it was really neat to actually see them use multiple tracking shots throughout the series, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the part where they have the blind guy in the back of the cab, and the camera's currently in the center of the cab, and it goes around... And it spins around, and he's standing in front of the car, and then he walks by, and then the camera turns around, and the guys go flying out of the door, and it's just like, I love the tracking shots, and they're so well done.
They do such a good job of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and what I felt like, again, I guess some people were complaining about the fights, some of them went on too long. I honestly didn't feel that way. I felt like, again, just like with the violence, every fight had a lot of purpose to it, and one thing, especially, because when the fights went a long time, watching Matt Murdock fight was so interesting because, again, at the beginning of the fight, he'd use a lot more finesse. But as he got tired, you saw him getting fucking tired while fighting.
He got exhausted.
Yeah, and he went to boxing. He almost always, whenever he got more tired, he would go to boxing. Like, these are the fundamentals that I know, and I'm going to do this.
He's falling back on the training he got as a kid from watching his father.
Exactly, and which is so awesome. And that scene, especially because there were certain times where he got his ass absolutely kicked, and he couldn't fucking move for a day.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
And that's probably the best part about. That's what made Daredevil work as a concept, as sort of a like the opposite side of the bookend to the Avengers. Is that this is a real guy in a real situation, and he is like the physicality of the fights was so incredible that they did not skimp on the stunt coordinators at all.
No, that was they obviously put tons of money into that.
Absolutely.
But none of the fights looked like a Jackie Chan movie where they're all like choreographed and whatnot. It was like
it looked like what you could consider as a raw, realistic martial arts fight.
It was like The Last of Us as a video game. It wasn't like Chokey Roberts, like Sam Fisher. It was just killing each other with bricks. It was brutal. It was visceral. Every scene in Daredevil, you saw him like hit him with like a chain or a trash can or threw him off a roof. The one scene in the alley where it's like raining, there's like I think the second or third episode where he was introduced to Rosario Dawson. And he just got his ass handed to him. And it was like both people were right on the edge of exhaustion, and it could have gone either way. And I love the fact that it's like there was no clear victor in that fight. It was just who hung on longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's half the thing about Daredevil is the Murdochs, they can just take that extra bit of
exactly,
and keep going.
Absolutely. Again, like one thing too. So one thing that is sometimes a pet peeve for me, and again, not because I don't like it, because it's oftentimes not very well done, is nonlinear storytelling. Because sometimes they'll do something like that in an episode or a movie just to be novel. Like, oh, it's so interesting. Like, no, again, Man of Steel, what it did, it just didn't really work. It wasn't structured
Alias,
horribly.
the TV show.
Oh, God.
It's terrible for that.
It was ridiculous. Right, exactly. But this time, like in the episode where he fought Nobu, who is clearly a member of the Hand, they don't say it by name, but I mean, come on, it's obviously the Hand.
We'll see that next season.
Oh, I'm sure. I cannot wait. But like that fight, because again, like it kept going back to that fight throughout the episode, but
it was a framing technique.
Exactly, it was an absolutely well done framing technique, and it was done so well. And by the end of it, you're like, holy fuck, he's had a day.
Really, leading up to that?
yeah, no kidding. And again, it just gave the finality of that fight a lot of just context and a lot of weight.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh man, there's not enough good things I could say about the fight choreography.
Well, I mean, it had to be good for a show like Daredevil. It was like the bread and butter of the show.
Yes, very true.
It didn't need special effects.
Because it wasn't about special effects. It wasn't about superpowers. Like the closest thing to superpower is that he got special training to hone his hearing and touch and senses and stuff like that. Like other than that, he doesn't have special powers. He doesn't shoot webs. He doesn't climb walls. He doesn't. He doesn't fly. He doesn't shoot lasers. So really, they had to focus on the fight to make it. That's his special power, almost.
I have to say, the whole radar thing, I wasn't expecting it to be as powerful as it was. There's the scene where he's in that abandoned warehouse, he's trying to patch up that cop, and he's like, what's in the area that you can save this guy's life? It's like, half a box of nails is up there on the second shelf.
Yeah, that's. I think that was the only one that really stood out, where it was like, okay,
his sense of smell was a little bit nuts as well.
That's true, but it's like they actually define sort of how much data you can pull from the environment. And it's interesting. It didn't seem...
It sticks to its own science,
yes,
at least.
internally consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true.
So
again.
But ultimately it's about two men, and both of them trying to exert their will on the city. Matt Murdock trying to get justice, and you have the Kingpin who's trying to assert order, at any cost. So
Sure. How about those side characters? I mean, I actually really enjoyed probably all of them. Even Foggy, who a lot of people don't like.
Matt Foggy, he grew on me. He was a little irritating at first, but...
Yeah, that was one of the things. I think he's supposed to almost be irritating at first, but then it's like, I can't not like this guy now.
Especially when he got so pissed off at Matt for keeping the secret for
time.
Yeah.
I really like that, actually.
I know, world on fire. I love that line. Where he just totally... I love that, because it's like, look, what do you see? It's like, my world's on fire, right? And it's like a really powerful line. And he's like, I told you that. He's like, I get it, world on fire. He kind of trivialized that, which I really enjoyed.
But I enjoyed that episode because of that back and forth of, they showed why, they're good friends at the start, obviously, because of how they joke around so bit, but it shows why they're such good friends at that point, because of their...
flashback to college,
they could flash back to college about 3 or 4 times, and they have those great moments together. It's like, wow, I really feel like that's why they're such good friends, and they did such a good job with that.
And good chemistry, too, between the actors,
which
was critical for that role.
Even, I don't remember what her name is, but their secretary chick who got attacked.
From True Blood.
I thought that she was just going to kind of be, not a throwaway character, but I thought she was just going to kind of be in the background. But even her being one of the main characters in there,
she was great.
She does a good job. She hangs in there, and she really is part of the story.
And she's a catalyst for a lot of
that's true,
interesting storylines that are going to happen next season.
Oh yeah,
like the whole we won't spoil. You can spoil it, I guess. But now we spoiled pretty much everything. Where she shoots. The King
I know. That's hanging in the background.
It's like, what are you going to do? You've seen that scene 100 times. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to threaten me? You're not going to shoot me?
Yeah.
Blam.
But
it's like,
what's cool, too, is because they allude to her having a dark past of some sort. We have no idea what the fuck that is. But, well, I mean, you know.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's not the first time she's pulled the
trigger. Exactly. That's what we're thinking, too, right?
Well, she literally says that, but you don't believe her at that point.
But I believe her now.
You believe her now. You fucking believe her now.
Oh, my God. And I love that. It subverts the expectation because you've seen that scene in shows 100 times, and just the fact that she did it and then pulled the trigger a couple more times.
Yes.
She was so traumatized by that, and then now we'll see the fallout of her being traumatized by her acting on that. It's it's so many layers. She's trying to take control of her life. She's trying to assert herself. Now she has to live with the guilt of what she's done and try to hide it from everyone else at the same time. It's so much going on in the background.
Well, speaking of her guilt, let's talk about Ben Urich. Wow. I was surprised. Okay, obviously spoilers. I was surprised he bit the bullet considering he's actually kind of a major character in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I mean, again, it's one of the cases where he was originally white, but they made him a black character. And I loved him. I was like, wow, okay, I've never cared about this character that much until now. Granted, I think he was actually pretty prominent during the Civil War, but I can't remember. I read that quite a while ago. But yeah, I thought he was great. He was cool, because playing the world-weary reporter can go one of two ways, where it's super boring, cliched, or you can see this character be somewhat reinvigorated by him trying to get back into what he's doing, and then becomes a really powerful ally. Yeah. And luckily they went for the latter rather than the perform.
And you could just see him getting ground down episode after episode.
Absolutely.
I think they used it as a very potent scene, though.
Yeah.
I think that's why they did what they did, is because it was a very, very powerful driving force, like right towards the end.
And showed his nobility too, because he could obviously. I mean, you knew he wasn't going to do it, but I mean, like he didn't throw her under the bus, right? Like he's like, I need to make sure I protect her. Like she's going to continue doing what she's doing, and I've lived a long life. Yeah, right.
It's a great thing that Marvel can do now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is just throw all the rules out, and it's like if it serves the purpose of the story, we're not afraid of killing a major character just to make the story more interesting.
Yeah,
and they can do this, and then who knows? 10 years from now, maybe they'll throw the whole thing out and retcon everything like Disney
Everybody's
did
back
with Star
to life.
Wars.
Marvel comics. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as they don't make a deal with the devil, I'm on board.
Oh
with
God! Let's never bring Mephistopheles into the Marvel universe.
Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's all like a whole new thing now.
Yeah.
I've lost track of it, but the new Marvel
Battle
comics
World,
thing it's like interesting for Doctor Doom. I mean, I'm on board. It's different. It gives him a lot of opportunities.
No, for sure. I need to read some of that. Yeah. But
I can't get back into comics.
I try.
That's good. You got your TV shows.
Yeah, comics Marvel and DC are a dangerous thing for sure.
Too busy playing games to
Oh, that too.
do that. So.
But is there anything else, like kind of just final thoughts on Daredevil, or?
Just can't wait to see Punisher in season 2.
I'm not a big fan of that actor, but he was good. He was the kind of I
think he's going to work in the role.
In The Walking Dead, you really didn't like him.
Yeah.
You genuinely
You're not supposed
to
like the Punisher, though. That's the thing.
And that's just it.
And that's why I think he's going to work.
Yeah.
I think the Punisher, though, he needs to be not so much likable, but sympathetic, even as he is doing these horrible things.
Well, if anybody can do it, the writers for the show.
Yeah, I mean, if they can pull off the same...
They've proven already that they can make an amazing, sympathetic character out of almost anyone. So I think they're going to be able to do
if they can do that with the Punisher without defanging him.
Yeah. Which they don't have to because it's ultra violent and I fucking love it.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Although it's unfortunate that Ray Stevenson didn't get another whack at the can.
Neither did
Thomas Jane.
Yeah, Thomas Jane.
Who was also good, but I mean...
It wasn't their fault.
No, unfortunately.
No.
And neither movie was bad.
No, they weren't. That's the thing. They weren't bad, but they just...
They didn't quite hit it.
Yeah.
Just didn't quite gel.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But no, I mean, I've never seen this actor before who's playing Daredevil. And he is fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, apparently he's in Boardwalk Empire.
Okay,
Yeah.
never saw that one. So
that apparently is another one a friend of mine has recommended highly to me.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things, so it's another one I'm going to come back to at some point. But, yeah. All right.
Alright, well, that was us gushing about Daredevil for
no kidding.
40 minutes
Holy
or something
shit.
like that, so...
Alright, well, let's quickly just kind of go over what we've been doing this week. Jason, you're the guest.
Oh, yeah, that's something we usually do, so shoot,
what
have
we
you been
doing this week? Well, I mean...
TV shows, games, whatever.
Well, Mad Max came out at the beginning of the month. I mean, Destiny Taken King came out.
Ooh, I need to give that a shot.
Konami had some kind of indie game.
What are you talking about? Indie game?
Yeah, some little thing with...
Something about a snake and
something about
sounds like
gears
bullshit.
and metal.
Sounds like bullshit.
Gears of Metal.
Gears of Metal.
That sounds like the opera.
I would play that show. I would play that game.
I would play that show.
But it's like 3 weeks now. It's been since it came out, and I platinum today. And
nice.
that makes the 5th Metal Gear Platinum I've got. So it's that was a good chunk of time and effort.
Yep.
But yeah, Mad Max can finally now sit down and play. And you want to talk about a game that has visceral combat?
Mm-hmm. Like that's about as visceral as it fucking gets.
I mean, it has a lot of... Mad Max is going to get repetitive, but if you like Mad Max as a concept, you like that world, the world design is incredible. From Avalanche, the guys who do Just Cause, Just Cause 2, and soon to be Just Cause 3.
Yeah.
They did such a fantastic job with the design, the world. I mean, as long as you can embrace Mad Max as a concept and put aside the patently absurd decline of civilization in an incredibly short amount of time.
Yeah.
And like linguistic drift and concepts and memories where they still have photographs of things and remember things that happen, but they're inventing their own language and they have Immortan Joe and his son Scabrous Scrotus and Gastown and
But I like it.
Bullet
They
Farm.
just really did their own thing with it. And that's why I find it so entertaining.
But the game itself, it does have repetitive moments, but everything in it is so visceral. The cars, the combat, There's Penny Arcade did a comic about it where it's like Mad Max is the best fishing game ever, except you do it with a harpoon on a cannon.
Yeah.
And it's like he's a fisher of men. So it's like I don't think that's what Jesus had in mind. But I tell you that the game, like every aspect of it, like so
I got to sit down and play it for a few hours at Matt's place this weekend.
Oh, really?
And I have to agree. It's like I know that it got panned when it very first got released, but it just made such a strong comeback.
I don't know about panned.
It really did. A lot of people were just like, "Oh, it's generic and it's boring and it's repetitive and it has all these fetch quests and all this stuff." And I'm just like, "Okay, well,
Fallout.
I'm still gonna
In a nutshell.
I'm still gonna play it, and I got to play it, and I'm glad that I fucking did. I still want to play the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It's awesome."
And I mean, just the fact that you can play that long in the game, it's like everything you pick up, it might not have enough. Like, you can't go too far into the Fallout area where you're scavenging everything, you've got a bunch of crafting things. I think it could have had a little bit more depth and had some kind of weird design choices. Like, you get shotgun shells, right? Mm-hmm. They're super rare. They're really hard to find. Then you do this one quest, and now you get free shotgun shells every time you go to this. It's the
upgrading all the strongholds and everything.
And suddenly shotgun shells are everywhere, and the difficulty change is incredibly there's no taper
That's
off
what Matt
at all.
was saying is the same thing. The difficulty really changed with the car combat as soon as you get the thunder poos.
Oh yes,
because you can just instantly explode like any vehicle that's attacking you.
Well, until you get to the really, really armored ones, yeah. But I mean, those are you're right. It's like.
Because you tap a trigger,
yeah.
Chumbucket throws one, and if it's not fully armored, it dies. If it's fully armored, all the armor's gone, and then you can rip the guy out of the driver's seat or tear the wheel off of it or whatever.
The only real gripes I had about it, aside from some repetitiveness, which I'm willing to accept because I played Just Cause 2 and trying to get to even 75% of total destruction in Just Cause 2 was a slog.
Insanity.
But there are some weird design choices in the controls that I just can't wrap my brain around. Max can pick up a gas can. Like, he'll find him scavenging the environment. He'll kick a can. If it's empty, he'll move on. And eventually, he'll find one's got some gas in it. Gas also not that useful.
Yeah,
you
really.
Get gas everywhere.
Your car can drive for like ever.
It's like it's like in Mad Max, fuel is life, and yet gas you never run out of. But anyway, so you have a gas can. So you can press square to ignite the gas can and use it to destroy destructible objects. Unfortunately, square is also used to refuel objects.
Oh, man. Okay.
So if you're trying to refuel your car or refuel one of the balloons that are used for like looking at the landscape, you might just be blowing yourself up instead of refueling the thing. And then sometimes those gas cans are difficult to find. You have to go to like another outpost and come back with a gas can. Stupid.
Yeah.
Dropping a melee weapon, which you can't store as you get into your vehicle, you just drop it immediately.
Yeah.
If you're trying to climb a ladder, holding X climbs the ladder, holding X also drops your melee weapon.
Boy.
So if you're not squared up properly, you might not climb it with the melee weapon, you might have to climb back down. So, I mean, I'm willing to accept that. I think the game is a solid 7.5, tops out maybe at a high 8 for fun.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It's just was released on Metal Gear Day.
Yeah, which did not help it at all.
No,
they really messed up on that.
Just bad scheduling. So I've played a lot of that. I mean, October's coming up. We have Uncharted Collection coming up. We have Just Cause 3 coming out. Fallout 4's coming out.
Yeah.
Also there's another big one that's coming out at the end of the year that I'm forgetting.
There's Battlefront in November.
Oh, Battlefront, of course, yeah. Actually, I'm kind of hesitant to say this, but I'm kind of interested to see how Blood Bowl does tomorrow.
Oh, yeah,
wow,
actually,
I completely forgot about that.
That one came out of nowhere, really.
Oh, man,
holy shit.
And it's gonna be a thing. Like,
interesting.
Games Workshop, typically they focus on 40K, Warhammer 40K, and Space Marine, and all those franchises. Dawn of War on the PC, you see a lot of.
Yeah.
But Blood Bowl has been around forever.
Yeah.
And to see
it's
them
nice
come
to
back
see
to that.
finally have like a modern iteration of it.
Until we get another Mutant League football.
Yes,
which
exactly.
Blood Bowl was basically... Mutant League was like Blood Bowl 2.
Yeah.
But, so this is interesting to see them actually come back to this franchise and do it again. I'm really curious to see if they pull it off. It looks entertaining. I've seen the trailers, so it looks good. So, yeah, lots of games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. Yeah, mine was... I didn't get to play a lot of games this week, but I recently got... I can't remember if I said this last week on the show. If not, I'm sorry, or whatever, but I'm playing The Darkest Dungeon on Steam,
I've heard good things.
which is really, really
I
good.
I really want to try that game. That game is awesome.
It's amazing. It's amazing in its simplicity, but it has that depth to it too. It's like you can quickly pick up and understand kind of like the concept of how all the stuff interacts with each other and everything like that. But it's so deep, and it has that very Dark Souls feel to it, where it's like people are gonna die, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like,
So talk to me about the sanity concept in that, because I hear that's a big part of the game.
oh yeah, okay. So basically, what happens with that is that as you go through a level, torches are very important. You have to always take torches with you into a level because you have a light meter at the top of your screen, and it will slowly burn down, and you have to light another torch to bring that meter back up. So the darker things get, the more, I guess, sanity damage you take if somebody attacks you with the sanity damage. They also lose sanity as you trudge on through a level, so the longer levels, you have to keep that torch lit, you have to keep their spirits up, basically.
So is it like Don't Starve, where the more insane you get, the more weird the enemies are that you fight?
No, it doesn't manipulate it that much.
Okay.
One of the main factors with it is, I guess there's two main factors of the sanity. When you're in a level, and you start getting affected by sanity, it's like you almost have two health meters. You have an HP meter, and then you have like a sanity meter, or it's their, I can't remember, there's a different term for it, but it's basically their sanity meter. And if you take more and more damage on that, sometimes there'll be like a moment where the hero will all of a sudden have to face a test.
Okay.
And it just does this really intense, like, zoom in on the character, and it's shaking, and it's like, because you got, like, hit really hard, and all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, what's the hero going to do? And then you either triumph over it, or you recoil from it. And if you triumph over it, you get a boost, and usually the rest of your team gets a boost, like they get some health, or they get spirit, and
like
they
rally.
fight better. Yeah. They rally together, basically. But if you recoil from it, he gets, I can't remember what the terminology for it is, but basically just something like a bad attribute, basically.
Okay.
And what that can do is it can do anything from if he's a masochist, if somebody hits him, he'll be like, yeah, fucking bring it on, and he might go into berserk mode and attack someone. But if you try to heal him, you waste your turn healing him because, like, no, I don't need that, and you don't heal him, and you wasted your turn. So shit like that can really happen, and then some of them, this hasn't happened to me, but I think some of them can go so close to insanity that they actually just run away. Like while you're fighting, they can just run.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I hear it is coming out for the PS4.
But one of my favorite things about it is the narrator, actually. Because when you're going through it, it reminds me of almost playing like a tabletop D&D. Because the narrator is not constantly talking, but when things happen, he will comment on them.
Like Bastion.
Yeah, kind of like that. Not so coherent. Like it's not like he's telling a whole story.
Right.
But, you know, as you go in and all of a sudden your torch goes down to the next level, it's like, oh, and then it grew darker, and then like when you're fighting the enemies and stuff like that, and you do like a critical hit on someone, it's just like, and then the heroes rally together to like, you know, fight back the evil, and and it's just really cool because it comes in at those like kind of those pinpoint moments like that, and it just really gets you into the game, like it really sets the mood well, and the art style is absolutely amazing too, and it just has like that dark, like thick line, like comic book style, but it's dark because of the torch and dark because it's, you know, all these dungeon crawling.
I've seen some of the screenshots. I don't know why. It kind of reminds me of like Yonan Vasquez's art.
Yes, it's very much like that actually. Yeah, it definitely has some twisted. It's very it's very Cthulhian actually. Yeah. It's based a lot on that kind of lore and everything. So
can't wait.
So that one is definitely pick it up, especially for the price. I think it's like $15 or something like that.
I'm sure it'll be on PSN. It'll be more.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Whatever. Get it on any system. It'll be awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Put a lot of time and effort into my trophy card. I kind of wait for that.
And if you like a punishingly hard game, that is one for you, because it is very Souls-esque. Like your characters will die because you get new characters almost every week.
Oh.
They come in on the tram, or not tram, but it's like a wagon that brings you new adventurers every week. And you have like a stable. Wagon. You have a stable, and basically the way it works is your stable, you fill it up to make your team, and you know those guys are going to die, or they're so insane that you can't even spend the money to cure their sanity, so you just let them go, and then you fill them up with the new adventurers that have just come in.
Wow.
So you really have to pick and choose who you actually upgrade. They have to really prove their worth before you start putting money into them.
Any game that has 400% attrition, I'm all
Yeah,
for.
so that one's really cool. And then I just got to play a few more hours of Rocket League this week. So
Rocket League is so awesome.
I am
Nice.
absolutely 100% addicted to Rocket League.
Oh,
so
I tell you,
I
don't know
can't
if it's
get
the,
enough.
I don't know if it's the team play aspect of it or just the speed of it.
It's I like the
Yeah.
I like the same things that's said about it is it's that easy to play, hard to master kind of thing,
Mhm.
and it's just there's something so fun in its simplicity. It's absolutely amazing, and yeah, I can never get enough of that game. I play it every chance I get.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so I too have been playing this strange little indie game that nobody's heard of called The Gears of Metal.
The Gears
of
Solid
Metal.
5. No, that game has been taking a lot of my time. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play, well, a lot of my time that I have to play. So I basically just unlocked Quiet.
so you still haven't finished the story yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
So yeah,
But
But
very,
he's also the guy that like whenever he sees a side mission, he does that before going on the
Yeah.
main mission. So
So am I though,
Yeah.
but I mean, I took some. I had some time that I had to spend, so I took like the first week off,
yeah,
so that I was trying to finish it before the internet fucked me.
right,
Yeah,
yes.
Because I knew that there were spoilers out there
Oh,
even
yeah.
before it was released. From
No, I
people who had
know.
the guides.
Mhm.
yeah.
So the internet's like a minefield.
Yeah.
I've been
exactly.
so careful, and luckily haven't really gotten spoiled. Like I don't know how I've been able to avoid.
So here's
it.
how it ends.
No, stop!
No, I just unlocked Quiet, and man, is she good for cover. Holy shit, I took out a base so easily with her help, and I was like, okay, no, that's great.
She's fantastic, and I'm gonna let you finish. But D-Dog is the best Metal Gear companion of all
Oh,
time.
no, I was actually going to mention D-Dog right away, because I was like, you know what, as amazing as she is for that, I just love having D-Dog there.
Oh,
Like, it just makes infiltration so easy.
I was worried the first time I brought him out was like I think I got to Africa for the first time was one of the oil field. That's the first time he
Yes.
actually managed to make it onto the chopper. And I was like, I'm worried he's going to get underfoot and they're going to see him. It's like Ellie in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. They don't really
Vaders don't
They don't really
Yeah.
pay attention to him.
Actually, they do. They'll notice him, and some of the guys look,
No,
shoot,
get out of here. Yeah,
Oh,
they'll
okay,
shoot
because
him
he's
away.
a dog,
Yeah,
so...
but
Yeah.
if he keeps popping up, it will eventually.
Yeah, they're like,
Oh,
what is
okay.
going, why is this
Yeah.
dog here? Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's not 100% that he doesn't blow it, but he doesn't immediately blow it, which was what I was expecting.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and that's why he has got the wait command,
Oh.
right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you can put him in a safe spot, like, okay, there are guys here, all I need you to do is help me find where they are.
Which,
right?
at first, he doesn't do.
Yeah,
Until he learns,
Until-
like, you get your bond up.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I could talk forever with you know. So
Oh,
anyway,
no.
what do you think of the story so far?
Well, I had mentioned, I think I had talked about a little bit, because at this point, the story still hasn't quite revealed everything.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's a very slow burn for the story, which is a little, I'm one of the crazy people that actually loves the ridiculous Metal Gear Solid story.
I mean, that's Hideo Kojima. You have to expect a certain amount of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you go into it knowing that's going to be
Yes,
the case, and
absolutely.
wait for it to kind of unfold.
Yeah, and that's what I'm waiting for. Like I'm still waiting for a lot of that, and I'm feeling like again I played Peace Walker, or watched a lot of Peace Walker. I
Mhm.
played a significant amount of it, but I had to wrap it up because I couldn't leave Metal Gear Solid.
Did you not finish Peace Walker?
Oh no, I didn't. I know how. I know how
You
it
can
ends.
yell at him later.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
Peace Walker is not a critical piece as much as say like Metal Gear
No.
3 and 4, but
I had to watch the ending because I needed to
Okay.
watch the rest of it, so I know what happened. I'm very familiar with the story at this point. Like I played a lot of it, but I couldn't finish it before this came out. And again, spoilers. I couldn't leave it. I couldn't leave 5, but yeah, I just feel like right now, especially like not only with the change of Kiefer Sutherland, but also the fact that Snake doesn't talk that often, especially during scenes where I feel like Big Boss would say something, that character that
He would
we
react.
know would have exactly where he just doesn't. I'm just like. It doesn't really feel like the same Snake. I feel like it's a different character. Granted, there is a reason why that could be the case, but I felt like even with like Ground Zeroes, I already was kind of feeling that.
Yeah.
But,
Kiefer Sutherland is more expensive per hour than
yeah,
David Hayter.
exactly. That's exactly. It's
So
very
you'll have
realistic. So.
40 clips of David Hayter talking about different types of animals that he eats in
Yeah.
Snake Eater.
Yeah.
This is pretty good. Love that shit. Love that shit.
Oh, gross!
Yeah, so good.
Oh,
So yeah, there was that, and then on top of that, I've again continued to slowly make my way through Bloodborne, very close to the end. I can taste it.
I own the game. It is in my library.
Oh.
I have not turned it on once.
Oh
That's
God,
unfortunate.
It isn't. I just so many things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, and that game is definitely well worth the time. The DLC's actually coming out in November, which is going to ruin me considering fucking Fallout's coming out too. But you know, I'll figure that out when I get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of it for me. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that's at that point where it's, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
We have talked for over 2 hours on our favorite shows and how we got started with watching TV and everything like that because of our various ages and whatnot. So, what did you guys start watching? Like, what do you like watching on TV? Tell us some of the hidden gem shows that you know about, because I know there's tons of them out there.
Please tell Nedu to watch The Wire as quickly as possible.
I'm gonna watch The Wire.
Yes,
Believe me,
so
I
expect
will.
like 50 comments of everyone telling Nedu to watch
God.
The Wire.
I will lend you
Damn
my
it.
copy of Brutal Legend after you watch my copy of The Wire.
I'm more than okay with that.
There
I'm
we go.
more than okay with
It's
Look
it.
at
really
that.
kind of, there's no bad side to that.
But yeah,
No, I
best
feel like
friends sharing all their goods.
Yeah, I feel like that's wins all around.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
Okay, this is a part I didn't tell you, Jason. So, what we normally say is don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So, don't forget to...
Like, comment, and
No,
subscribe?
No, like.
Like?
You get to say like. Okay,
Oh,
let's
I
just-
see.
Okay, you got that? All right.
Maybe we should have rehearsed this.
No, I completely forgot about it.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah, so, don't forget to
Like?
Comment.
and subscribe.
All right. Key to cast out.